fucking voice activity on Discord is scuffed.
Well,
Yeah.
Me.
I'll probably just go push the talk for the podcast anyway.
Yeah.
So you don't hear me type or whatever.
I want to know what you're typing.
Test. Right.
Supposed to spy me otherwise. Where are my little notes? Little notes section.
Notes.
I have notes.
So the only topic I can talk about is Expedition, though. That's the only thing I've been doing.
That's fine. I dropped Expedition 3 days in.
I just cannot take more Expedition either. It's too much.
It failed me.
Yeah, I'm doing my last session as well. I didn't do any of it last league, so I was kind of fresh for it.
Okay. I just have Reddit as the background at the moment.
Oh no.
As it should be.
Should be.
Which number? It doesn't even matter. Doesn't fucking. Who cares? So it's So the podcast was it 9 or something like that. I've lost count. I got myself a croissant. What did you guys have for breakfast?
Breakfast? It was ages ago.
Listen,
I just had some curry for dinner.
Curry's good. What kind of curry?
The good kind. I don't know.
The good kind. Straight from the jar.
I don't know.
The best curry.
I'm clueless.
That's fair. What about you, Legi?
Well, I had chicken and rice and some vegetables with that.
Oh,
so
vegetables.
great.
Vegetables.
Some veggies.
I have an entire itinerary that is a couple things long, but we're gonna try to keep this around 2 hours and try to keep the sour grapes to a minimum if possible.
I was ready to rant already when you say that.
You'll get your 5 minutes of ranting.
It's over.
I don't think it'll be anything new because it's one of the few times where I would say the bulk of the player base is at some point has been in some sort of unison, which is a rare stars aligning type thing. But we'll talk briefly about last league a little bit. And the one thing I want to mention the most is that Manny, you guys did a group self-found event, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, we did.
So do you want to just take a minute and talk about just what that was like and then what the goal was and then any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so the whole idea was to play a cooperative league, like, cooperating as in sharing gear and sharing completions and everything. So the goal was to try and find every single unique in the game, as IronVsWild has done, for example, in SSF, within the private league. And we had a lot of people join. I was expecting maybe like 50 people, but the timing seemed to be perfect. Right after the BPL, a lot of people joined. We were like 300 people that signed up and played, so it was great fun.
Yeah, group self-up became a kind of big private league, so the idea was a bit derailed with having a small group trying to fight against Unique Tab, but it was fun. Still was really, really fun, I have to say.
Were there anything missing? Did you guys get everything or no?
No, we were missing Ulnitol's Vow, Emperor's Mastery, and one replica. I think it was Dusk Dawn.
I found a Dusk Dawn this league also. That's a pretty rare one.
We did only play like 3.5-ish weeks. I think that's when I kind of clocked out because not many people were left.
Yeah.
So there was another 4 weeks in the league. We probably could have finished it. Maybe we could if we grinded. Motivation went low though.
I quit 2 weeks in the league after we finished our replica beta grind as a group, and then people just didn't feel like farming more lab, unfortunately. So we got close, but didn't finish, unfortunately.
How do you guys loosely know how many strands it took to farm the one that got away, the full set?
It was not that many because we abused everything we could in a group setting. So
So 6-man parties for stacking quantity and like.
I think it was a 3 or 4 for the most part because we didn't fully min max it.
You do southbounds and like had someone like call and like that whole thing, or?
also not quite.
Okay.
It was just not necessary.
Yeah.
Like we got it pretty quickly anyways, thanks to winged divination scarabs, etc. So
Yeah.
also fully juiced up Conqueror Beyond maps. You know, when you had so many people pooling resources, it was not that hard to farm those cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it was around 100 mobs.
100, like
maybe a bit
super juice though. Like you're talking.
Yeah. Maybe a bit less even, like around 80 to 100 mobs if I recall correctly. But yeah, it was winged, triple beyond, Conqueror, and then like, minimaxing ultras.
All the bells and whistles. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We only found 5 cards if I recall correctly, right? Because stacked decks gave us 2. Because you can imagine
that's pretty
with
rare,
all the heisting
yeah.
pooled, the amount of stacked decks that was open was probably above 100,000.
Yeah.
There was so many decks that were open over those 3 weeks that took care of a lot of uniques already.
Are there any uniques that you were surprised took long to get?
The Anglers Play grind was kind of rough. It was me going for it, and a few other people chimed in. But it was one of the last ones.
Which build? What did you use? Because for Anglers Play, you have to use the corrupted Slither Pinch,
right?
a
tornado shot.
Okay.
Tornado shot build that fit very perfectly for it.
Did you have like LE weak on hit Slither Pinch or something?
Yeah, I think it was a frenzy charge. Not sure what it was, but some good corruption.
Nice.
Since with so many people playing.
Yeah,
with
the odds are Slither Pinch.
Gloves
Yeah.
to corrupt. Yeah.
Yeah, really surprising
Yes.
to be honest, because I remember taking like 4 or 5 million kills from Manni alone, and I always thought that Anglers was pretty easy to find. I would say, like at least that was my experience.
Most people I know did get them quite when they attempted to. Did get them quite early. Like it was like first week of their grind. Like oh, there it is.
Yeah, for me it was. I found 3 of them in total, ever right. So.
Yeah.
The first one took the longest, and it was like 3 days of just playing the game, and then next 2 just took less than 8 hours.
I still have not done it. I just haven't played a ranged attack build in a while where I felt like I could just slap them on and it'd be like, comfy to do.
Yeah, it's hard to find a build that can fit it. Because you want a build that obviously grinds really fast and efficiently, but it can't really be explosion based, which is what those builds usually were. Like, think of Blade Vortex and so on.
Just have a strange constraint to like limit yourself a little bit to pull it off. I'm not sure what would you suggest playing now if you wanted to farm an English play. I mean, it's a little harder now, obviously.
I would just tornado shot.
Yeah,
for sure.
Just like basic TS, no explosions, like
could
Omni type
range.
thing, or just like
it
LE.
could be a Wander or Lightning Arrow as well. Like any of those kind of range.
You just can't have any sort of no explosions. Yeah.
You don't run Hell of Ash either. You just clear with your main ability and nothing else.
Right click and pray.
Yeah, something that hits a lot of times in a small succession. So pretty much TS is perfect, or like even Lightning Strike is pretty good as well. So
and so one
of those projectile builds.
The constraints again are you have to have a corrupted Slither Pinch, and I believe it has to be against rare feared mobs, right? Or curse. Fear on hit.
Fleeing monsters.
Flee. Sorry, there you go. Flee. What the fuck is fear? Is that Diablo uses feared, or is that WoW? Just like the same thing. Same thing.
Both. It's both.
Yeah. But yeah, it's not like a difficult thing to farm. You just have to direct yourself to it.
You have to kill a crazy amount of rare monsters. So I was like running a Rusted Legion Scarab and a Breach Scarab, and just running maps in like a minute each. Not really looting much. Obviously, Headhunter equipped. It's the perfect synergy, right? If you kill a lot of rare monsters, then that build's pretty good. Yeah.
If you're just farming like shit tier content, also you could just throw on the setup, and odds are you'll probably find it after a week or so, I guess. So if you're just grinding, if like you're someone who's in League right now grinding tier 1 maps, farming Essence, like all the guaranteed mechanics like Essence, Harbinger, etc., you just slap on a Slither Pinch, Corrupted, slap on a Chance to Flee, and after a couple weeks you'll probably find them. I'm not sure how much they are in League though. I don't think they're too expensive, right?
Yeah, we don't really know how stuff works after the rebalance. How long would it take?
The rebalance? What, did something happen?
Something, maybe. I heard something about some rare monsters being...
Something.
Yeah, exactly.
Could be.
Some rumors. I don't know.
And speaking of fishing items, the fishing rods actually took us a really long time to get as well. I was very surprised by that.
You didn't just do the div cards in Ancient Orb?
We did, but getting those div cards took forever.
Really?
We only had a single Vast card after like 100k decks or whatever we opened, and then we gambled and lost.
You weren't actually farming the card itself. You were just doing it through.
No, we would have farmed it after the one that got away.
Yeah.
But then eventually we did pull one from the void out of thin air, and just a day or two later,
A fishing rod?
Yeah, unique fishing rod.
Whoa,
And then
that's pretty rare.
a day or two later, we chance scoured into another one to finish the 2 fishing rods. It was like within the last 10 uniques that we got though. It was surprisingly late. I thought we would just find it from basic expectation, div card or whatever pretty early, but
that's
never
fine.
happened.
For those who don't know, I guess there's a Song of the Sirens of the fishing rod, one of the 2 unique fishing rods. But the kind of the meme is, so we're talking about the Vast card was what was used to get Song of the Sirens. And there's only 2 fishing rods, so if you use an Ancient Orb on it, it automatically becomes Reefbane, and I believe vice versa. But so if you ever want to get a fishing rod, you just have to get 2 of the one, and you're good to go. And I believe technically they can just both drop, right? But I think that it was something with Reefbane it had to do with that it wasn't affected by rarity, or was it not affected by quantity, and it had a global drop percentage. Because I remember when they were testing quantity reduction, and people were reducing quantity to 0 or below 0, so no items were dropping. You were still able to get fishing rods to drop, which means they were on like an independent drop table. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but
From my knowledge, Reefbane is just an actual global drop that could drop for anyone.
yeah,
But incredibly rare, like Mage Blood level or rarer. And Song of the Siren, I'm actually unaware how it is supposed to be obtained other than div cards. Do you know?
I think you cannot drop it, or you have to maybe use the Fair Grace. It's not obviously it only used for the white and
says,
red fishing
I mean,
rods.
I'm not sure how accurate the wiki is even now, but it says that they can only drop when you're wearing a Fairgraves Tricorn. So that's the prerequisite.
Yeah,
but
that's the prerequisite of finding any fishing rod, right? You have to kill unique monsters while having the Fairgraves equipped. I did that in our private league just to get a chancing base, and it took only like 20 maps. It's relatively easy to get a white fishing rod that way.
Yep.
And I guess you can get a Song of the Siren that way too.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's how it works.
Yeah, good transition.
Okay.
Have you guys used the new Fairgraves by chance since they changed it? There was 100 uniques changed of the 1,500 that exist, but
I've picked it up and I was thinking I should probably try it out.
It's got a very funny line. I don't really know how good that is. I don't.
How do you use it though? How do you get the ghost from?
I mean, you can put on scarabs, I guess. So it just says you can be touched by tormented spirits, which is a buff that should last the entirety of the map. I don't know how consistent you could control that, if at all. But it should be like
Probably.
A baby headhunter in a weird way.
How much power do you gain from being touched?
In real life, a lot, but in game, not so much. I don't know. Some of that, I think the modifiers should exist. So they do exist in the wiki, but they're very loose how they're described. So like, the Cutthroat Ghost says you deal substantial physical damage. What exactly that means, I don't know. It says just that you gain it, essentially onslaught without the tags for some of these things. But I don't see much for damage. Like the quick one says, or the Brogue one says, you are quick. Now, I don't know what the fuck quick means, but might mean something specifically. But they do have things. I just don't think that it probably isn't like the most data mined thing as far as the wiki's concerned. I also
sadly, not really good way to use it.
Can't be consistent either, because I mean, if you block enough league mechanics, the base rate of spawning ghosts gets near 100% anyway for a map. You'll probably if you're blocking like 6 out of the 8 mechanics, you're probably going to get a ghost per map. But you have no idea where the fuck the ghost is going to be, and like, it's real jank, but it's definitely cool though. I wish it like periodically spawned ghosts. That'd be a lot more, whatever, useful possibly.
It's flavorful, but that's a meme as always with fishing.
Maybe we'll get another unique in the future that spawns ghosts or
really
something
cool.
similar.
Fairgraves is a codpiece or something. I don't know, something cool. So there was 100 unique, but we're gonna be bouncing around a lot because there's just like so much to go over. We're not gonna be able to go over everything. It's just impossill. Because we'll be here for fucking 7 hours.
We could talk about some uniques that you guys like.
Yeah,
Which uniques
of the 100.
Are you using one of them?
I am using. The only thing I'm using now is the Dodries after it got buffed, because I need a double curse. That's really it.
The ring.
Yeah, I need a double curse, and it now has 20 auras on it if you have a good run, which is like
that's nice.
Good enough for a double curse ring. But the one that there's a couple that are pretty cool for sure. Let me pull up the list. You guys can like say which ones you like the most also while we're hanging here.
For me, it was Kikazaru. I've been using Kikazaru on my occultist, like level 97. Such a great ring.
It's a lot of regen on that ring and a lot of stats.
Yeah, at level 95 you get, I think, 270 something regen, right? That's crazy. And except that you obviously get the curse reduction and some stats and some mana regen and also res. So I think that ring is sleeper OP for a lot of builds. It's not like the best endgame ring you can come up with. Like you can craft a better rare, but getting 300 regen on the ring is very underrated.
There's
keep going. Sorry.
You know what ring goes really well together with Kikarazu? I think Death Rush is. Death Rush obviously.
That's what I was gonna say. It's a
very good ring
one.
now.
Yeah.
But Death Rush only works on kill, like while mapping, and I think Kikarazu could be a really good bossing swap. Right, when you're doing a boss encounter where you're not gonna kill, you can swap in the ring for a sustain. That would be a good ring to swap into. They go pretty well together. Man, yeah, Death Rush is my favorite item of the rework. I found it early on in the league, and I have
it's just not plural.
Not taken it out.
So it's has 5%. So a perfect roll one has 5% life on kill, and then adrenaline on kill for 3 seconds. And adrenaline is, was it 100% damage, 20% move and attack?
It's onslaught on steroids, but it's stacks of onslaught.
Yeah, there we go. 25% attack, cast, and movement. Also the 10% fizz damage reduction. Yeah,
it's like
that's a big part, especially on the builds with low armor.
Yep, it's definitely a weird looking ring because I think there's a lot of the uniques they updated have way less lines to them as far as the actual text, like the explicit lines. But they just are more concentrated, more like niche what they do, which I like. Because it's just, to me, this is like a very unique. It does like one very specific, very specific thing. It does. If you want that thing, you get this is the item you get. And can you catalyze it for more life on kill or more adrenaline or anything?
Life, yeah. You could get 6% life on kill.
You probably still do the chaos risk, but that's fine. I'm not sure what the survival difference of 6% life on kill versus 5% life on kill is.
Yeah, not much.
But yeah, so it's 3% adrenaline, or sorry, 3 seconds of adrenaline on kill, which is pretty much just constantly if you're just plowing through a map. So it's pretty spicy. My actually favorite unique, I think, of the reworked or the just new uniques, I think, was Thrill Steel, which was the
Barbute helmet.
The Barbute helmet that just says Onslaught. I got this thing, my first beast in League, level 16. I got this, and it was like a godsend. Like, it definitely made the entire experience so much better just having Onslaught basically for the. And I was still wearing it up until 92 on my what's it called, General's Cry build, because I just couldn't replace it basically for a while. And it just having Onslaught just feels good. It's like very hard to drop. Just having perma onslaught. It definitely was like a Mage Blood reminiscent. Or it's
there are a lot of uniques like that are really nice to find on a league start now.
Yeah.
Like a lot of buffed leveling uniques to the point where I was really trying to capture all the red beasts I saw while progressing through the campaign just to see if I can sneak in a good leveling unique. Would have been really fun.
I didn't get one, lucky, but the Ghost Wraith, the body armor, I've heard really good things about. The one that gives you 50 chaos res and converts half your life into ES. I think it's level 11 and has like upwards of 250 flat ES on it, which is just a wild amount.
There's a lot of ES and a lot of life, but the problem is that you're like facing when leveling with it. I leveled one of my characters with it. You're getting stunned so much.
Yeah, because your max life is quite low.
Yeah, exactly. So I leveled occults with it, so that wasn't a problem. But like if I was an occultist, I would probably be really, really annoyed while using it. But yeah, definitely a really good item, like some niche builds or even endgame viability, to be honest.
Another unique that I haven't gotten, I don't think I've gotten it yet, but the updated Emperor's Vigilance was a shield, was not very used too often or too good. But
or not at all.
Yeah, not at all, basically. It was this weird glancing blow meme shield. But they cranked the armor ES like to the fucking moon. And now it has a total of over 2,000 armor and ES on it. So people are playing fucking shield throw builds with it now. Which is funny.
It has like the stats of like a perfectly rolled rare shield essentially, or even better than that, right?
Yeah. It also does have a weird glancing blow, blocky thing happening there. So people have been
It's
using
definitely one
that.
of those uniques where if you find it early, that's a reroll right there, right? A reroll
Yeah.
option.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Definitely a follow the drops type item.
Well, you do need another unique with it, right? You would need the Viridian Jewel.
Yeah, Seething
Which name
Fury.
is
Without
eluding Seething Fury.
yeah,
Yeah.
without that you're having a bad time because that's what gives you. I mean, this thing got super nerfed, but it's still good. I mean, it's like kind of mandatory because of all the base crit and multi it gives you. It's kind of like you're losing so much if you don't have that, which is. And there is also the Phantasmal Spectral Throw. It's not as big of a deal, but it's 20 multi per 100 ES, and the shield has, I believe, a minimum 300 ES, so it's 60 multi for that quality, which is like, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a really rare item.
Yeah.
Probably around like tier 2 or even tier 1 rarity right now.
The shield, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another thing is there's been a. I don't think it was. Well, they mentioned there's a lot of things were omitted from the patch notes that we're not even going to get into that whole fucking thing. But there's been a major reshifting of what things are certain tiers in uniques, and this is really representative in trade. You can see the pricing reflects the drop rates how they are now versus what they were. One of these is Asenaths is a lot more common now. What used to be like I believe a tier 1 unique is now much more common, and that's why it's like I think it was down to like 2C or something in trade leagues. It's quite common. Yeah. But Emperor's Vigilance has now been cranked in rarity.
Hasn't have surprised me. Like I understand why they made other uniques more common because they were just very underused. But SNFs was very strong anyways.
Yeah,
I feel like they could have stayed rare.
I'm not sure either why they did. I had one I got one very early on, and it's a super powerful unique, and
yeah,
it's very low level, and it can be it has good like one of the things we complain about a lot is like this unique has no fucking stats, no res, no life, like, and it does have like up to 80 life and mana and int.
So it's and explosions and temp chains. Like it's so crazy that they make this kind of unique quite common, relatively speaking. But compared to, for example, like Angel's Harmony, that was also reshifted. That I like to put that in comparison. I just don't really see why they done that, but they're surprising.
Yeah,
some decisions there.
I'm not sure what was intentional versus what was not intentional. It's kind of is it the scientific method where you're supposed to change one variable at a time to find the results of its impact on something? And I feel like this league more than ever there's been instead of changing one variable they changed 1,000, and then now it's just like sifting through the soup kind of. But
GG works in mysterious waves sometimes, so
it's like the tooth
fairy.
Never know. Has there been any has there been any strange occurrences this league you've experienced, but anything abnormal you've experienced this league as far as like things that have surprised you more than normal, whether it's a drop or how something is felt compared to something else, or maybe you invested in something? Like, for example, we were talking briefly about Expedition before we started, and I went whole hog on Expedition for the first 3 or 4 days, and I felt that the quantity nerf in itself, I was doing tier 16s, and I was like fully invested in maps, and oftentimes I'd get like 2 or 3 rerolls, and felt like it was really wasting investment. Not just that, but also like the actual currency they dropped to use felt quite bad. And then cut to we find out that like the actual vendors got nerfed themselves, which was unfortunate. But like Gwennon's unique chance got heavily reduced.
I don't believe anything has changed other than Gwennon from my experience. I'm
directly.
Yeah. No, I think the amount of items you get from Expedition Encounters and maps, as in logbooks and rerolls, seem identical. Tuchin shop seems identical to me as before. Rock has been my savior. I guess that would be the thing that positively surprised me this league. Rock has been my savior for gearing. I'm using only Rock gear for the entire league so far, pretty much. But yeah, Gwennon has gotten a big hit, which is in line with the general nerfs to unique drop rates, though.
Yeah.
So I guess it's understandable, and it was it could have been expected. I didn't expect it, though. I was a bit caught off guard, but I was hoping it would have the old rates, but it doesn't.
Yeah. I'm looking at your gear right now on stream. Your gear is... Some of your slots are kind of shit, Manny. What is happening here?
Excuse me?
So
Those rares are all made by Rock, other than my belt. He's really good at making life resist suppression items,
you got
especially
those,
in the
yeah. Let's
the-
look
like
at
the-
your helmet. Your helmet was kind of questionable.
Oh,
Oh,
it has 5 modifiers, sir.
5.
It's
Well,
like
it has
almost perfect.
life and res, life and 2 res rolls.
It has 2 life rolls, right? The hybrid life and normal
Yeah.
life to resist, and the crafted suffix.
I'm
So what
expecting
can
some
you...
6 tier 1 ROG shit though. You know.
Well, I haven't done that much Rock. I'm still prioritizing Gwenin.
You
It does get pretty tiring to trade with Rock.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you do like for like an hour, and you have a lot of good items to show for it, but then you're really done for a while.
I see your little. You get so using Ming's Heart. So this is a good one to talk about also because that was changed drastically in a couple ways. So it was the reduced life at ES was cranked way up, but the Fizz to extra chaos was like massively increased to an absurd amount of
Yes.
extra damage.
yeah,
The
such a
daring is
strong
one
unique.
of the reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so what I want to say is that you can sacrifice a lot of defense in your tree to equip that ring to balance the downside, but the upside is just so huge because you get so much damage from it.
It's essentially like
Oh.
two support gems, almost worth of damage. Like, it's such a massive
Yeah.
amount. And Rog made this ring for you also, or
No,
this is
the uniques I found off the ground.
not a Rog craft?
But no, I have some really good rock rings to show, but yeah,
the
the unique rings are too good for this build. You know, Ming's Heart is just irreplaceable. Even if it costs you basically 5 life nodes to make up for the downside, you know,
Yeah.
the damage you gain is worth like 25 points. It's
Yeah.
insanely good.
you didn't want to divine your death rush to use your precious.
Let's not talk
divine
about
rings?
divines. Yeah, divines are being hoarded.
Well, you could just vendor your skilled loyals and you get a divine back, and then you could use that on death rush. It's
Oh,
perfect.
Surely.
Surely. You do have a +2 skill and loyal, which is quite nice. And also has reduced crits, which is also quite nice. That is a pretty
that
nice
was-
skill and loyal.
Probably my luckiest moment of the league.
Yeah.
Getting that card from a stack deck, gambling it up instantly to 4, and then getting the perfect colors for my build with a good corruption on top of it.
That is divine intervention.
That was
I did hear you briefly talking. I saw you have Awaken of Many Elements. You're talking about when you were, I don't remember what the scenario was, but someone told me you're fighting, I don't know if it was Maven or Cirrus or something, and you were like, I could use a Awaken Gem in my build, and that just dropped out of nowhere.
yeah, it was the one singular Maven I've done to
Yeah.
acquire my Voidstone. Dropped me my gem as well. I've had some good luck this league.
Yeah, look, Maven been pretty nice to both of us, it seems.
I have not
Legi
done
has a
Maven
story
just
to
yet.
tell.
Where's the, let me pull up your character, Logie. You could tell your tale. You're champion, right?
My champion is actually naked right now because I'm leveling a cringe character, the Magic Find Cooler. So
Oh no.
yeah, it's unfortunate.
Let me see if it. No, it still has. I still have your gear. It's
Ah,
fine.
that's good.
Leggy birthday boy. You turned
But yeah,
16
My
finally.
my league been insanely lucky. I think this was my best league start I ever had. So
Yeah.
I got an Omniscience after last league journey, let's put it that way,
Yeah.
on my first quest skill. And then when we were speaking about Maven, I got, I would say, like the most lucky drop you could get from that boss. So I got a Reliquary key from Maven, and that key gave me an impossible escape. And that impossible escape was pretty much the best possible one, which is Imbalance Guard.
I will pull
Oh,
it
yeah.
up on stream. There it is. Yeah, so it was the Maven key. Well, you're not even mentioning in the picture is also just got Awaken and Power, just right
That's
next to
later.
it.
That's a bit later. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, you got the Impossible Escape, which is the one for Imbalance Guard, and the reason that's so good, I have this pulled up also, is because you could reach Prismatic Skin, right,
And Soul of Steel as well. Yeah.
Soul of Steel, which is basically you're saying I'm reaching three all res, which is very
Yeah,
very
free
nice.
max res, and you can also like get some accuracy if you are playing attackable. But yeah,
Yep,
the
Eagle
free
Eye,
max
yeah.
res is just so nice.
It is
Especially
very good.
after they nerfed the melding of flesh this league, so it's even more
Yeah,
value.
my first Eater dropped a perfect melding, and I just had no incentive to try to like pull it off.
Yeah, it's really hard to pull off right now. I mean, there are ways to do it, but you kind of require a lot of gear, and acquiring
Yeah.
that kind of gear this league is a bit more challenging. Let's put it that way.
Is
What exactly was the change to melding? I forgot.
has a huge negative max res on it.
-4 max res on a perfect
So
roll.
you would have to gain 94 of 1 res to get to 90,
Yeah.
like before.
Yeah, that's steep. Yeah,
Huh.
it's a little much, honestly. You're definitely running a purity plus. I mean, I guess the idea is you're probably running either some sort of juiced purity of
I mean,
ice plus.
for cold, it should still be very
Aegis.
achievable, right? Thanks to Aegis
Yeah,
and
Aegis
the Brine
was-
Crown.
Aegis
Brine
Brine
Crown
Crown
with
purity.
plus
That's probably your.
Sounds very good to me still. Just
Not-
gotta
not the
find those
easiest
Tier 1
thing.
uniques real quick.
Yeah, well, Brine Crown was already very rare. I don't know how rare it is now, but
I think it is still. I did find one, but I haven't seen anyone else find one. I think it's still very rare.
that was already a pretty solid helmet. I think it's even better now. But...
They made it worth of a Tier 1 now for sure. It's really strong.
Which is so funny because it was just such a weird. It existed in this bubble of like being one of those incredibly rare uniques that really wasn't used, but was like also pretty good if you found it. And now it's like, oh shit, it's like way better. Yeah, it's a funny one. Was your shield rod crafted, Leggy?
My shield, no, I actually spammed essence on that
Your,
thing.
your shield is a little bit better than Manni's shield. Just saying. Maybe Rog isn't.
Yeah, I think I was just spamming essences and spamming some exalted orbs to finish it off. So
Divine orbs.
no, exalted orbs.
Okay.
Let's not twist
Spamming
this too.
exalted orbs.
Yeah, I think it was 2 exalted orbs to finish the prefixes.
So with the change to exalted to divines, have you found yourself exalting more? Because I have not. I used to slam regard. I mean, if something was worth exalting, I would still exalt it, and I haven't seen myself exalting more or less now. It's
Same, because the thing is not. It was never the problem to find an exalt, because there's also Leo slams and beasts and
Yeah.
all of those mechanics, right? The problem is to actually find an item that needs a slam.
It was almost
are
always
very
jewels for me.
rare.
Like that's definitely the thing I slammed the most was clusters and jewels, just like finishing off a fourth, affix. But I'm not slamming more or less. I'm just slamming the same amount of. Like I'll leave myself a couple exalt buffer, but if I have extra exalted, I'm probably slamming to finish out items, and that's not gonna. I don't think it'll really change for me.
I found myself slamming a lot more actually to contrast your guys' opinion. For example, the ring I'm using on my champion, like I slammed T1 attributes on it, just because it could have been a good one. So yeah.
One of your rings is insane, which is the one that has tier 1 strength, int, and chaos res. That one's
That was pretty lucky, but that's
Quite
just
good.
deterministic craft with essences and lucky reforged chaos on the suffix. But yeah, that was the second one that I'm using.
is it deterministic crafting with essences? It seems like a slightly luckier lever to me.
I mean, if we are talking about this ring, then it kind of yes, but well, you can interpret that in many different ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found myself slamming a lot of shields or helmets just to get the last slot filled, the last suffix or prefix. So for me, it was a bit different experience. Usually, I would just hoard stuff because metamons were always the preferred way of using exalts.
Yep.
But,
And going into this league, you both had a slightly different. Well, I mean, from my experience, the past couple leagues, you've both been playing kind of the same build as far as like it's been like seismic or something similar for a while. And I guess Manny's kind of playing something similar. It's still Fizz Poison, but what led to your decision for what you wanted to start this league?
For me, it was.
Okay, you go, Manny. Yeah, sorry.
I knew I was going to focus on Expedition, and this build felt like the perfect tool for it. And the rework to Obliteration, Death Rush, and Mink's Heart really made me excited for this build.
Yep.
I was really worried about actually finding them, and I did get lucky enough finding them early enough, as I was hoping for. So
And using in presence
going
also,
great.
which is interesting.
I did not plan on that at all. I only killed a single Elder, or 2 Elders, and it just dropped. It was not planned at all.
So
It just happened.
I rerolled RF after I hit I was playing Generalist Cry and I just didn't get Red Blade banner still, and I just was like, all right, cool, I'm just gonna reroll. So I rerolled RF,
Oh.
and I also killed one Elder and got him presence, and I'm also using it presence now. because it gave me the flam one. I was like, oh, that's good. I mean, it is something like I feel like I wouldn't ever hunt down, but when you find it, it's like, this is not bad. Like this feels okay. Like,
well, seems like we all are one person, because it exactly the same happened to me. I killed one elder and found Chaos in presence. So,
Yep.
well,
yeah,
that's pretty funny.
yeah. I'm not
Like,
sure
I
what's
mean,
up with that, but yeah.
Speaking of boss drops, this is probably just most likely a coincidence, but do you guys think they have changed any rating of boss loot in this patch as well? Have you guys had any experiences with that?
Well,
I
so
haven't really done any bossing.
yeah,
yet, so I can't tell.
I've killed 5 eaters and I've gotten 4 meldings, and
Really?
that's supposed to be a 6% drop, I believe, which it's possible to hit 4 in a row, but that's very unlikely. And I don't know, and also like every boss I've killed has dropped either the second or first most rare drop for them currently for me. So I don't know if they've restructured things, but I don't have a sample size to really reflect.
Have you guys seen a sample size post yet somewhere?
The only thing I've seen is
it's
for
not-
Trial Master, and that is super fucked. But aside from,
no.
I haven't seen anything. Yeah, that's the Trial Master one. So they added Trial Master back from Ultimatum in a weird, janky way. There's 4 fragments that aren't fragments. They're like Harbinger pieces because they can't go in the fucking fragment tab. They drop from 4 Val themed areas. So you have the Incursion Roomba, Val Temple Trio, Delve Architect, and Uberat Ziri, right? And the drop rates are not 100%, and they're also not the same. And the rate in which you can farm them is not remotely the same. Like the odds of you finding and farming out a Delve Architect compared to like the just doing 4 maps for an Incursion boss is not a 1-to-1 ratio at all. But the actual Trial Master's drop rates seem to be, and I shit you not, after looking at 3 different people who have run over 50, 70% chance almost to drop the helmet, and then Hate Forge is 2%, and everything else is somewhere in between 2 and 70. Like,
So yeah, pretty much the same drop rate as we got in the league itself.
yeah, so abysmal chance for Hate Forge. You're almost always going to get the helmet, and then there's a small chance you can get one of the other 4 pieces of shit, which is weird.
Sounds like grinding a Hate Forge is probably on the same level as Stasis Prison and only Tools of Hour and so on at SSF then, at least.
So that's all.
That sounds
I've
rough.
pretty much redirected my sites to just doing nothing but those 4 pieces of content now, and it's just the one that definitely sucks is Delph. Like, getting Val Temples. Val Temples feel good, or like at the moment, it feels good because you get all the Val vessels, and those consistently give you like double corrupt uniques, 20 gems. Like, there's good stuff. The boss isn't too hard either, and it's like it's like a good area. And then Temple feels worthwhile because setting up Temple is good experience, good loot. There's good things to be had in Temple, so it feels fine to get double corrupts. You get lapidary lenses, like it feels good. Uberat Ziri is kind of whatever. It's more of a passive thing. Like, I just ticked on the. I have the Atlas passive where it's like you get a chance for the the mortal side zones, the Love of the Queen thing, and it's a 20% chance when you find a side zone. It's just an alluring one, which is like an ID4 one. That's pretty okay. It tends to give you like 1 to 3 mortal fragments, so it's not too bad.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, I've gotten upwards to a full set to drop off of 1, like 1 of each piece, which feels good. And Uberat Ziri technically is pretty good experience. It just is like kind of clunky to run, and the loot's kind of whatever. There's like not that many desirable drops from there anymore. I mean,
You can drop House of Mirrors, can't it?
it can, do with that as you wish. It can. I mean, if I got to add through his reflection, I might use it on a build, like for sure, the shield. But
yeah, exactly.
That's
That's
like-
that shield is good.
Triumvirate maybe could be used for something if you get a really good Triumvirate that has like 4 modifiers. But most of the drops are kind of wank, so it's whatever. But yeah, just Delve, like hunting one specific Delve boss that has like what I've seen is about a 1 in 5 drop rate of the piece for Trial Master is like not the most fun thing in the world. Which is just
I expected the Delph boss to be the bottleneck for
It is.
farming this in Solar Sylphon for sure.
yeah. I don't know I don't know why they didn't just make it 100% drop rate, because I don't think it would have been like offensive at all, to be honest. Especially if you're keeping the drop rate of like Hate Forge as low as they're keeping it. I don't really personally see the point of like why make it as rare as it is.
I think it's just balanced on Trade League, unfortunately. I mean, for us in SSF, so yeah.
Yeah.
I think the balancing is all right for Trade League standards, but for us, it's completely abysmal.
Yeah. Yeah, Hate Forge. I mean, one day they'll be mine.
One day, maybe. That's exactly what I'm focusing right now, actually. I've been delving quite deep already. I think my I went to 550 depth already.
I'm about
And, like,
400 right
it's week
now. It's like you can get for sure like 100 something depth a day if you really are focusing on it,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it just feels kind of bad, you know. Feels really bad to be honest, because like you hit those patches in Delve where you just like have to go around. Like if there's nothing else you're looking for there, it's like you're just everything else is chaff until you get to the the one thing you care about.
I think I disagree with that because I think Delve is really good this league. If you want to do some crafting, if you want to do
the
get
fossils
some-
are good, yeah.
yeah, fossils are amazing. Like with all the harvest reforges kind of gutted, then that's the best way of crafting, for example, cluster jewels and then some specific.
I always feel like
items
fossils
as
are
well.
so much like lackluster. Well, I guess for clusters that's one thing, but for general crafting, I feel like essences are hard to beat at the moment. They feel
Yeah,
like
that's
to me
true.
so much stronger. Clusters, the one real. This is like a real niche frustration, but like this is also like such a saying this out loud sounds absolutely ridiculous. But I'm playing RF, and I have a large fire cluster, right? And there's a notable called Master of Fire on my large fire cluster that gives me fire exposure. Doesn't have a fire tag. There's no fire tag in that thing. Like there's some certain things that like I was looking at Delve, like how do I craft this? And it's just like there's no good way. And I was even looking at maybe I can get fossils, like, but there's the best way is just blocking other things. And there's just like it feels real bad. Like there's certain things that are in a really bad place for crafting, but them removing the tags from certain things was like such a strange decision. I almost wish we could use essences or other things, or maybe they'd be like repurpose because they have lines for essence like this does different things for different, an amulet this does this and a glove it does this. I'm not sure why they couldn't just add the same thing for clusters. Even if it said like add 6 or 8 decks, like for a deafening dex essence on a cluster, I'd probably still use that, just to slam. So I'm not sure what the
I think they want to differentiate crafting different pieces of gear with different ways of like acquiring those items.
Yeah.
I don't think essence is like the best way to go about it. Like to rebalance essence to be usable in clusters, at least in my opinion. But it's definitely an interesting idea. Would be nice if they implement something that, except I would say fossils and chaos spamming.
I feel like the rate in which I accrue fossils in Delve is like not the highest versus other. I feel like I often get an equal amount of fossils just tangentially elsewhere than I do in Delve. Definitely resonators I get without question.
Delve is the resonator source more than the fossil source.
Yeah, but you could even actually. So I'm not sure much of the mirrors you've been running, the mirror tablets, but I ran like 40 last week, and there's a couple. The Delve nodes there, I think it's the Delve 2 and 3 nodes, give you an equal amount of azurite and sulfite. So you hit it. I think it was on like a difficulty 10. I got 1,000 azurite and 1,000 sulfite for each of them, despite me being at the cap for sulfite at the time. And it's actually a quite large amount of azurite you'll get from the mirrored tablet.
Yeah, I mean that's like getting that 10% proc when you have that Atlas passive.
Yep.
I think I've been running that for a bit actually, just a couple days ago, and on a high quantity map, it's up to 2k azurite.
Yep.
From one click. That's even just a mission. The Scarab is even better.
Yeah, because the quantity is just the same as whatever it would be if you had it, the mining byproducts. There you go. Definitely seems to be the best way to purchase them.
I'm gonna be shilling full Delve this league. Like, if you guys wanna get your like basic currencies from cities and just crafting supplies and like some trial master tries, I think Delve is very strong this league. So I would not neglect it.
I don't like cities though.
Definitely go for it.
Cities
simply because of trial master.
I always feel bad that there's such an emphasis on the Atlas passive tree as far as setting it up, getting your favorite slots, and then focusing on content that isn't influenced by it at all. Like, to me, that's always just like feels a little bit bad.
Yeah, it does, but I think this league in particular, it's good time to branch out at least there.
I did a lot of. I've already ran at least probably 50, 60 grand heists this league, and it definitely has been without question the thing that paid off the most. And it definitely feels nerfed. It definitely feels nerfed, but the amount it feels nerfed compared to everything else is lessened. So like hitting a unique boxes in heist, sorry, that give 0 to 1 because you can hit a rusted scarab and that counts as the one drop from the unique box. Like that feels fucking bad compared to like the 4 to 6 you used to get, but that's still a better mechanic. And honestly, that's why I was looking at even doing bestiary initially. If it wasn't on the left side of the tree, but because it's like that, the floor bestiary was 1 unique. After everything nerfed, it's still 1 unique. So
that's exactly what I was thinking, and I was focusing on bestiary. partially because of that.
Wish it was on the not the left side of the tree. I always had like a vendetta against the left side of the tree. I feel like I never want to engage with it. What does your Atlas trees look like this league? Like, what do you mainly have at the moment?
It's your turn, Legi.
My tree has been changing so much this league because I've been doing a lot of things. I did most of the time I did expedition with some ambush stuff. So obviously we have ambush on map device, and you can sustain expedition.
Yep.
With those scarabs, and like obviously supplementing that with harvest to give us swaps and all the other
How about the
utility crafts.
secret operations for the operative strong boxes?
Yeah, exactly. So you just click ambush and scarabs, ambush scarabs to get older scarabs, and then you swap them out, and then you get expedition, then get currency, and that's the loop you stay through.
I do feel like the 6% for operatives. Normally, I always feel like these low percentages feel like shit. I feel like that's the highest 6% in the game. So I feel like I hit it all the time. Whatever that's 6%.
You just get
chance.
so many boxes, especially when you use your scarabs and ambush Keurig crafts. You know, that's like what, 4 boxes for 4 chaos, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, I have those on. I have the tamper proof, and I have the guaranteed box. So I have the always rare corrupted secret operations, and I have that one on.
Strongbox is also one of the mechanics that gets more likely when you do blocking, right? It's mentioned in those blocking notes. So when you do a lot of blocking, the
Exiles,
naturally spawn a lot of boxes.
Smuggler's Cache, all that stuff. Yep.
But yeah, at the moment I'm focusing a bit on Legion and bit of Delve. So my tree is Delve, Legion, and obviously Harvest, because despite people thinking that Harvest is nerfed and useless, it's still one of the most broken mechanics for SSF. Like you should still be focusing fully on Harvest, I would say. I
do enough harvest to have enough blue to reroll my essences, because I've been trying to craft a 7-link RF helmet, and there's just no other way beside from getting primals to reroll essences, because you'll get those into horrors. I haven't really used it a whole lot. I tried crafting a weapon with harvest, but it feels like real fucking bad. Like reforged fire on a cast weapon. I think the biggest problem is, depending on what you're trying to craft, the pool is so large. So like doing a reforge of a specific element, you're going to hit the added to spells, added to attacks way more frequently than the percentage scaling or like the gems.
Yeah.
So it just feels
I don't think you
super weighted for those.
Yeah, I don't think anyone should be using the elemental reforges on anything. So that's why fossils would be much better.
The chaos one is good though. I like the chaos one.
Yeah,
I've crafted a lot of gear with that. Just trying to hit, because it's like you hit tier 2 or 1 chaos plus a secondary res in the life piece. That's probably good enough.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want. Or in specific scenarios like crit reforges, also very good for like getting attack crit on chest piece. Or using influence item or something like that.
Yeah,
there are specific reforges that are good, but
like you're saying, the crit on chest ones are good. Like a lot of things that don't have very small tag pool are quite good.
Yeah, but also really harvest. Oh yeah, so go Manni.
Yeah, I mean, harvest is odd because we still have this connotation that harvest equals good gear, right? But I don't even see harvest as a crafting mechanic anymore. It's just like a pure utility mechanic to... I use it to swap scarabs.
Same, yeah.
To swap essences, to not consume sexton, so I get more value out of those. You know, it's like an endgame enhancer, kind of, you know?
That's what I've been using it for as well. It's really been mostly for swapping things.
For crafting, it's very hard to use now.
Maybe eventually an enchant if I can afford it in my retirement plan.
It feels so bad too, because it's the same life force that you use for scarabs as you do for reforges, right? So
yeah, I
wouldn't mind using some of these reforges just to spin the wheel, but I know every time I click a reforge fire, I lose, you know, almost 2 scarab swaps, and it feels bad.
Yeah.
So I'm not using it for crafting at all.
It's definitely it's like a very niche Swiss Army knife. Like it's weird because it can be used for many things, but it's always going to come down to whatever is the best use case for you, is what that liquid is going to become. So it's like, why would I use, A if I can use it for B kind of type thing? And it's like, I'd love to use this to crafting chaos res gear, but currently it's the best outlet in the game for rerolling scarabs. So that's what it's going to be used for. Like if that's what you want to do, that is what it is best for. So definitely, not that it's definitely not what it used to be, harvest. Like the people who are saying it's not good, it is good. It's just different. It's not doesn't have the same use case. It is very, very good for exactly what it does. Like so every time I get a specialty essence, it basically, no matter what it drops is, I can turn into a Har consistently without question. Like, that is invaluable at the moment to me, right? And that previously wasn't really the case. That was not very consistent to do. But now I could do it in mass consistently whenever I want. So it's changed. It's just not the deterministic crafting king it used to be. It's just a different tool now. So
at least not in early game, I would say. Like early game, you definitely not use harvest for like very specific scenarios. But in end game, it's still one of the most important things because they change after the couple of nerfs, or buffs rather. They change how accessible the fracture craft is, which is 10k.
You still need Oshabi there, right?
Yeah, obviously that's a big bottleneck. But if you do harvest enough, then you're gonna get 1 or 2 Oshabis
eventually. Yeah.
Eventually, and fracturing something on like a big essence special craft like a onslaught on hit on you, or like even T1 suppression.
Yeah.
Those are really the best ways of crafting those end game items. So that's the weird part about for me about harvest. It's just the focus has shifted so much from what we were used to using it for. So
yeah, it went from crafting to utility, and the new utility is nice. Like I'm having a lot of fun swapping the scarabs to exactly the scarabs that I want, doing more of the content that I want in SSF. But it left a huge void in the crafting department, of course.
Yeah.
Crafting is in a rough.
I feel like essence and fossils are definitely, bolstering the load currently. They're on the shoulders. I have found myself.
Don't sleep on Rog. Don't sleep on Rog.
Fucking Rog. Rog is real hit or miss. That's the thing with Rog. Like it has very high highs or very low lows. Like he can craft you something insane, and he's very good at crafting like double, triple res life pieces, like without question. Early league, the second your character hits like 84, start rogging, you'll probably fill most of your slots instantly. But I spent like probably 150, 200 Rogger rolls trying to craft a fucking Siege Axe, and it's like a bad shot in hell trying to craft physical. He has such a proclivity to hit elemental rolls that if you're staying within that wheelhouse, it's totally fine. You'll make Ellie Claws night and day, but there's certain things his Rog is really good for, certain things he does not like doing. He loves making max Ellie Res shields, which I have been using. Like I have a +4 max Res shield, like 3 fire, 1 all. And like he does that all the time. He does avoidance all the time, suppression, those are great. Shields, he could be the best thing making, honestly.
I would say so, yeah.
It's amazing for shields.
Shields
are like
are
the basic
better than ever probably right now, to be honest, because it's just not that there's no reason to use 2 one-hands or a 2-hand, but the shields are stat sticks that also keep you alive very consistently at the moment. Like they have so much value between avoidance, suppression, res, max res,
especially suppression.
Block. Yeah, suppression's a hard thing to get. I mean, you get it from like Eater, whatever, or Eldritch implicits as well. But like that and plus tree. But like depending where you are in tree, you might be having to get half your suppression gear, and well, a fourth of it can come from a shield, no problem. So it's super high value. What the fuck was I gonna say? Who knows?
It's just really hard to craft weapons with Rock because for weapons you pretty much only accept like 1 or 2 bases, right? When you're crafting a shield, you don't really care too much about the base. You don't care if it's a Baroque or a Teak or an Elegant Round Shield or a Lacquered Bug. Like there's a million bases that are fine on shields, for example. But on a weapon, if you're playing an Expel, you want a Siege Axe, right? There's no other option really.
Yeah,
if you're playing a Claw, you want the Imperial or maybe the Gemini Claw, and that's it. So they show up pretty rarely.
It is much more limited in scope.
I had a lot of success crafting rings with Rogue, being honest.
Really?
Very different kinds. Like I got a couple like res rings, couple stat rings. I think Rogue is pretty good for jewelry, at least for rings. I don't think it's good for amulets.
No, amulets is a little bit harder. Just using presents. That's what we all do now.
True.
All the cool kids use presents, and I feel like definitely unique jewelry has, or all the accessories has spiked, and and stonks has gone up in unique accessories for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's just logical, right? If crafting rares is harder and less deterministic, and we're more likely to use uniques, but more likely to not have a good rare in that slot that fits the build perfectly.
Yeah, you have things like Mings and Death Rush out there, and Kikazarus and what have yous. Hard to beat the goods.
Why even bother crafting a rare when you can use a decent
Why run? What's the point?
You knew.
You do. Let's see. Okay, let me look at my brief itinerary.
What have you been up to, Lighty, build-wise? We kind of skipped over you.
So I started General's Cry, and I've been trying my damnedest to get a fucking Red Blade banner, and it's just not easy.
Even with ambush notes, it hasn't worked out?
So I found 12 warbands unique boxes. 2 of them were red blade, and both times I got the boots to drop. So that feels bad. It's a pretty rare shield. It's like, you know, it's a little awkward to get. You have basically 2 options really. You have ambush or delve. I found 16 Warband's delve nodes. One of them was red blade, and it dropped the boots again. I'm just getting unlucky. It's not that bad. I mean, I've gotten most of my other pieces for the build. I've got my Exert, War Cries. I even crafted a 450 PDPS runic hatchet. I've got stuff like because I was doing Sunder was I was doing Jones Cry. Buffed Sunder feels pretty good, honestly. It's not going to be as good as Blade Flurry, like it's not without question. It's not going to be as good as Shield Crush probably, but the new Sunder's pretty juicy. And all they really did was they did a little bit of damage, but they increased the wave frequency, which is the speed in which the waves come out, like massively, like doubled it. That feels good, but. Yeah, I got my Corpse Walkers, so the build, you know, I could save my fucking RSI on my wrist. I could just walk around and do things. I'm looking forward to playing that fully, but I just have to wait till Red Blade. So I just re-rolled RF, because everyone's like... I haven't played RF in so long, and RF is like one of... probably the most popular build in the league at the moment, I think, for trade. Not because it's good, it's just comfy. Like, I've played many builds in Path in my life. I don't think it's
is good.
Yes. I don't think it's the best build in the game, by far, but it is... incredibly comfy. There's like 1800 level 100s at the moment on fucking trade with RF, and it's also like most of the gear is rare, and then the one unique piece is Legacy of Fury, which is the by far most common drop off of Maven. So it feels good. It's just like a comfy build. I'm using Acid
around there as well.
Yeah, it's all like it's definitely a good map grinder, like because you just walk around. I mean, I'm still dying randomly to things that I couldn't tell you what they are half the time. Because, you know, just happens in Arch Nemesis.
It's PoE.
Yeah, it's PoE, especially now. It is what it is. But, yeah, I've been trying to craft my helmet. That's why I've been doing the essences, because I want to craft the horror helmet with the conch effect and the burning, but it's, like, not the easiest thing to do, you know? It's been fun. I leveled a new character yesterday a little bit. I'm starting to reroll Bone Shatter, just because I wanted to play it. Bone Shatter's been also pretty popular this league as a Slayer. I thought it'd be fun to check it out. I'm having the real experience that is just leveling melee in Arch Nemesis is like kind of a sketchy thing, even in the axe.
I don't know. I think Bone Zone leveling and like playing the game with it's one of the most comfy ways of playing melee. Like you just start Helix and then transition to Bone Zone and Bone. It's such a strong build, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I'm really surprised that you're having tough time with Arch Nem.
Well, I'm also developmentally disabled, so you know.
Yeah, you usually take interesting choices while you're leveling.
I do. I am one of the people. I refuse to compromise leveling in the fact that if I'm playing Freezing Pulse, right, the second I'm level 4, I'm Freezing Pulsing to 100. Like I refuse to level as other skills. Like if I want to experience every part of the journey with that skill, because to me that's part of like the experience of that build is seeing it go from total shit, like no support Freezing Pulse to like Awaken GMP, like double, all like the full tits at the very end. Like to me, that's part of the fun of the build is seeing it from the very, very infantile stage to its adulthood and its excellence. So I like using it at all, and often this lends me to having a much harder time leveling because like most things just don't work that early on. You know, a great example is RF. Like level 24, I was running RF. And I had to be on low life with Sprig Leaf on, and I was sitting at 200 life constantly. But like that's the experience for me. And of course, every upgrade from that point feels like a godsend because it's like, holy shit, I gained 1% life regen. I'm no longer dying constantly. So I like that experience of it because in the same way that you'll never get level 100 more than once in a character, you'll never be level 24 shitting the bed in a character more than one time. You only get to experience that part of your character's arc one time. So for me, it's like a very important part.
You're going for the immersion.
I am definitely going for the immersion, yes. I just play so much Path that it's like, I really want to experience like that part of it, you know? Where it's like, because again, you're only going to ever feel that way once. And also, the more shit you feel in that moment, the more sweet it feels at the end game where you're like, I'm a god. I'm walking around invulnerable.
That is true.
Yeah. I don't really know. I don't think people have been asking, this is a question I get asked very often. And this is like, there's been definitive times in Path history when I could answer, like, this is the breakaway build. If you're not playing this build this league, you're like fucking an idiot. So like during Expedition, it was like if you weren't playing Cold Spectral Shield, though, or like you didn't mess with Forbidden Right totems, like you've missed something. Like during Ultimatum, if you didn't play with Hate Forwards, like you've missed something. I don't feel like this league, maybe Conduit, like there's anything where I could recommend that it's like if you're not playing this now, this is like gonna get probably nerfed. You're missing something. You're missing out.
Yeah.
Do you feel like
I was
there's
thinking
anything?
the same way.
You feel like there's? Cause I haven't really found anything where I've looked at it and been like, the only thing I could think of is there's a build that's extremely niche that has reduced prod speed on to get Spectral Helix super slow.
Oh yeah.
But like
That is
that's
fun.
the scope of that build is like bosses that don't move. Like that's the only thing you can really do. So to me, that's like hyper niche. But what build would you recommend this league? If like there's like what is the breakaway build of the league, if anything?
I don't think there's any like S tier build that's better than everything else. I think there's quite huge variety this league with stuff being a bit weaker than usual, but there's a lot of builds you can play. I would say. So that's at least my experience. That's exactly what I've been telling people because I've been asked that question a lot as well. What do you play? As I said, what do you start with? So, yeah, you can play caster, you can play melee, you can play totems, you can play pretty much any playstyle you want.
Totems. What totem? What totem build are you playing?
Just EA ballistas, right? You can play explosive arrow ballista either on champion or elementalist.
Totems. There's a lot of EA totems. That's mostly EA. That's it. I mean, that's the expectation.
I mean, yeah, spell totem is a bit shit.
I've seen Spark Totem. I mean,
there's one guy
you've
who's
heard
Soul
about,
7 who's doing it.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
I'm not sure what the fuck he's doing, but he's Spark toteming. Not sure why.
I think that just because Spark is just strong. That's why.
Yeah,
but yeah, maybe I'm just not experienced enough as a totem player. So there are definitely
I don't think
other
it's
people
you.
too.
I don't. I've played a fair amount of totem builds. I just feel like there definitely isn't anything that's like. Ever since Forbidden, I mean, before Forbidden Right, the Freezing Pulse totems was quite good, and Ice Spear totems. Those are still pretty good. Freezing Pulse feels a little bit bad after they chunked the threshold a little bit, but yeah, I mean, you could. I guess Spark is a thing. You can do Conduit on totem, right? Or no? Does that not work?
Not really, no.
There's
But yeah, the builds I would say kind of stand out, at least for me. Maybe not stand out, but like I would recommend as a good experience. It's like Bone Shatter Slayer for melee, Spark, Inquisitor, or Elementalist Conduit for self-cast. Then you can also do Helix, but people don't like Helix.
It's a specific playstyle. Helix is it's a lot of clicking. That's the real problem. And I feel like for bosses, you're just constantly just like stagger stepping, kiting around. It's a little awkward feeling, but you know, there's also that sweet spot. Like I feel like if you're not, it kind of reminded me of playing Lightning Strike Berserker a little bit, where it's like if I'm not in the exact right position, I'm just like losing damage, and it felt like I have to constantly pay attention while doing bossing. Which I guess makes sense. I probably should be paying attention while bossing, but a little awkward feeling.
That was my league starter. I wanted to do bosses early, and I chose Helix.
It is.
That,
were you running triple purity or no? No, you weren't. Okay. What are your auras? What auras are you running?
My auras? I mean, during the start of the league, I was running Determination, Anger, Precision. But
why do you have Corrupting Fever?
So on
adrenaline.
Champion,
adrenaline. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have to proc adrenaline. So
it took me half a second to realize. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen it before. Anyone who's doing that.
I think most people
before
are
this
doing
league, people
that.
have done the Blessing life tab for it. But since that's been removed,
oh,
you don't need
you're right.
a new way to deal damage to yourself or
yeah.
take life damage, and then Corrupting Fever took the
committing.
spot.
He's committing Sudoku.
I have to admit, I died multiple times by clicking that sometimes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's part of the course.
You said your own question, right?
Here's a fun one. So you're running Defiance Banner, despite it being nerfed. Now you're doing it because you're a champion, so it's free, obviously. But do you still feel like if you weren't playing a champion, would you still be running Defiance Banner?
If I can fit it, I would say so, yes. For example, on my Witch, because I'm playing same build as Manni, because I got lucky uniques as well onto it, I'm fitting in Defiance Banner, so it's still decent amount of armor. I think I'm getting like 4k armor and like 5k evasion from it.
The crit strike's not a negligible thing also, just to be...
Yeah, it's okay. It's not that amazing, but it's if you can fit it, sure. And so it's okay.
Instead of being mandatory, it's more like a thing you fit in. If you happen to get like an extra reservation roll somewhere and suddenly you have some open mana, then you fit it in. I wouldn't really say it's mandatory at all anymore, though.
You have Tornado also on your cast. And what is it? No, it's not your cast. It's just manually casting Tornado.
Yeah.
So you're manually cast. So the full setup is you're managing Withering Step, or you just have that on left click.
On left click.
Okay.
On left click. Yeah.
And you have Ancestral Protector for single target attack speed, right? And then you also have Blood Rage. You're manually clicking, but that's mostly automated. And you also are doing Tornado on the boss. Your Assassin's Mark is automated, and you're manually clicking Corrupting Fever.
That is correct. Yeah.
That's a lot of buttons.
It's a lot of buttons, yes, but usually you don't really have to click Corrupting Fever that much. Like you don't have to, always have Adrenaline. So it's just mostly.
You found
like, if you feel
Tornado to be good? I have not touched Tornado at all.
Tornado is super strong. It's such an strong ability if you utilize it correctly, especially on like Helix or on Lightning Strike is a bit weaker, but it's still very strong.
It's
because it kind of
projectiles, right? It has to be hit with a projectile.
Yeah, exactly.
And it reflects,
so for example,
10% of that damage to nearby enemies.
Yeah, so you drop 2 of the Lightning Strikes if you land Lightning Strike, and it's within Tornado, and it just deals more than 10% of your damage. So
yeah,
it's really, really good on those builds. Like for example, on Spark as well, it's very useful.
I've not messed with
I think
Tornado.
most of the projectile builds should use it. I would say.
What do you think of? So it's like this has been a very new thing in Path of Exile, where it's only really prevalent for the fact that the direction of Path over the past 2 years, I would say, has shifted almost exclusively towards big bossing being the pinnacle of pinnacle bossing being the content, right? This is like we have these huge goals now for bosses in different tiers of difficulty. And they've given us a lot of tools to augment that experience. Things like, Ancestral Protector, things like what was Hydrosphere or Tornado. Like, do you think these like single target setup skills, like how have you liked that as it being introduced into the game? Because it's kind of like, it's definitely a what you put in, you get out type thing. If you do utilize them, you will get more damage, but it's like way more setup. It kind of reminds me of like when I was talking about Freezing Pulse Totems. That was the last time I had things where I would have to like Wave of Conviction, Frost, like all those those things like every 8 seconds. Yeah. It's like a lot of work, but definitely pays off. And you like those things?
I think I'm indifferent to be honest. I'm mostly as a player. I usually utilize the thing that are strongest, so I don't mind. For example, I don't mind clicking them, so it's not a detriment for my enjoyment of the game. So which is for a lot of people like clicking a lot of buttons. Yeah. But I don't know if it's great direction. I think mostly it's those skills are introduced because of the PoE2 system. We're gonna have a lot of ways to have like different setups, but I think those skills are in a good place right now because there's a lot of skills, as you said, that do different things and like fit in different builds, right? So there's good variety that you can pick and match depending on the build. So I don't think you have to have more than like 2 buttons on every build.
Yeah.
To have those skills. So for example, you don't like Totem, Hydrosphere, Tornado, Mark, etc. You don't have to do that. You just usually it's like between 1 and 2 skills as a button.
I'm always drawn towards the idea of automating anything in Path, like without question. It's like if I can automate something, I will automate something. To the point where like if I can have my exposure automated, my marks, my anything, I'll fucking automate. If I can automate my mouse, I would. Yeah. If I could just watch a bot play, I probably wouldn't do that and just eat. I love the idea of automating things, but I do feel like there's something like really poignant about these single target like augmentation spells, because you really, really fucking feel it. Like you think it's using Protect, it's whatever. But when you're playing a melee build, and you drop Ancestral Protector and you drop like Val Warchief and you start like attacking, you can see a noticeable difference in single target where you're like, okay, normally I'm lazy, but this I understand. Like I get exactly why you're doing this. This is like this is a substantial difference in damage.
Yeah, pretty much that just stacking cooldowns, right? Just they multiply with themselves. That's how the scaling of damage works in PoE. So like you multiply multiple things and then just get exponential outcome out of it, right? So that's why it's good. I think that's exactly good thing to do for like bossing. Like for mapping, you really want to automate everything. Like I hate those things in mapping. You just want to confidence and chill out and blast some monsters. But for bossing, I think it's good place.
I think it's
for the
especially
game.
good now because what fits into that play style is you have all these tools you could use, and the way that bossing is set up now, since everything is basically itemized, like all your bosses are fragments or some sort of invitation. So it's like you could spend a couple days blasting maps, kind of like turn your brain off, that whole vibe. And then it's like, all right, now I'm going to sit and do a bossing session. Let me toggle all my little buttons on. And that's like, it could be a totally different mindset. Like running 220.
I think that's really fine. So I think people complaining about multiple buttons and like not one button playstyle, kind of exaggerated.
It's a tool to be used. This is like a real tangent, but this is how I view basically POB. Like it's a tool to be used. It'll put out exactly what you put in. If you want to utilize these augmentation spells such as like Ancestral Protection to get more single target, you can. It's available. If you don't have to, you can still do everything in the game, like no problem. But it'll speed up your process by just that amount of effort.
Unfortunately, the downside of this is, and that's the really dirty thing about Path of Exile, is that a lot of skills are balanced around those things being put in. So we get our Helix, our Bone Shatter as melee, and then we get our Cleave and our Dual Strike, which
insert
is
30 other melee
garbage.
skills here.
Yeah. So like, it's not very good. So I don't know.
What are your feels about because you're both in the 0.01% top players effectively, whether you would admit it or not. That is simply where you reside.
Yes.
Especially no. You have anything to say, Manny? Or you?
No boasting.
No
boasting.
No.
Sure.
Humble. Okay. But yeah. So like, what do you feel about the idea that things like Helix, for example, or things like Blade Vortex or Lightning Strike are balanced around you versus the 80% population of the game? Do you think that's a healthy decision, or do you think it's just a necessity given where the content currently sits?
I kind of don't feel like that's the case. That stuff is balanced around that 0%, like skill balance wise.
Yeah,
I think that just skill balancing is bad. That's what I think.
Okay.
So
I don't really understand the question, to be honest. Like, we all have access to the same skills, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter how good you played, how well you're at the game, how good you're at the game, or whatever. As Legi said, the skill balance could definitely be better. I wish they would go back to what they did before this year, where they did big reworks of archetypes more consistently.
Yeah.
Last two patches have been kind of lackluster in that regard.
More of what I meant is that you have something like Lightning Strike, which is maybe Lightning Strike is balanced, assuming you're going to have a 600 PDPS or EDPS Claw and a Perseverance and a Omni. It's balanced, assuming you're going to have that amount of gear. But that amount of gear is not obtainable for the vast majority of the game. Therefore, them using Lightning Strike is going to feel extremely diminished.
Yeah, but if Lightning Strike is better than, say, Cleave as a melee skill option, then that's pretty much true for all kinds of budgets, right? It's better for bad gear and it's better for good gear. It doesn't really make a difference, I think.
There are some skills I would say that hit a break point,
like
Winter Orb, for example. Like Winter
true.
Orb feels kind of shit until you start cranking on it, and then it like scales into infinity.
There are skills that are mechanically
good,
but damage-wise bad.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
To trade up. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, those are. I mean, we can go on for 9 years about balance and path.
I mean, if a skill like Winter Orb would have really good single target damage or damage in general as well, then we're back to a league like Synthesis where everyone plays Winter Orb, right? Yeah. It's hard for them to balance that, to be fair.
Do you think that's necessarily problematic that there's just a best skill every 3 months? Like, in the way that, not that's the same thing.
Right now there isn't really. I couldn't name the best skill right now.
Yeah, that's I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, there is no best skill, whether that's by intention or just happenstance. Like, would it even if there was a breakaway skill, like if Conduit didn't get the damage nerf it got, the 8,000% lightning damage, whatever it was, if it didn't get that and it was just bar none the best skill, would that be problematic, or would it just be more like if you want to use it, you can and blow through a lot of the game? Like, you'll still die, but if you want to just have insane damage and then blow through most of the game, you can. But if you choose not to use it, would it be like a fear of like almost if I'm not using it, I'm losing out kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it would be bad if there was one skill that was clearly ahead of everything. we've had that for a bit with like Seismic Trap and DD being like the SSF build, right?
Yeah.
If you wanted to min-max your start. More options are always better, right? Like, I don't know who would disagree.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah,
More
I
options
would
are
agree. Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, I think big outliers are not very fun for the game.
Yeah.
It's like you're really kind of feeling that at the back of your head. Why I'm playing this when I could play something that deals 3 times more damage by just equipping a different skill gem.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you feel like the question is gone? It was in my mind. It is left. What the fuck was I gonna say? I even looked at my notes. I had something. God, let it return. I hear someone knocking next door to my house. Sounds like someone's tapping on a door.
Yeah, I can hear it as well.
What the fuck is that? I don't know what that is. I'm assuming it's an assassin coming to get me. Take a look. I'm gonna go take a look. You go take a piss break.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
You
your
guys
skill
can talk.
balance could always be better, honestly, but it's not really the main issue of the game right now, I'd say. They have bigger fires to
Should we
put
talk
out right now.
about the elephant in the room? The either
I don't
Arch
even know
Nemesis or the
Yeah, I wouldn't
loot.
even know what the elephant is. There's like 5 different issues that people are mad about, and some people are mad about all of them, and those people are very mad.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think the biggest issue for the game, at least in my eyes, is was Arch Nemesis. At least for like the vast
Really?
majority of people, but that's kind of nerfed, right? But
What do you think? Like, what is your least favorite part about the patch? Like, which topic is your personal grievance?
I mean, for me, I would say the God touched loot pinatas thing, and like
Oh, really?
loading loot to monsters, and like me feeling incentivized to like swapping characters. That's really annoying to me. So I think that's just the biggest elephant in the room, as I said, for me.
I don't
at
even
least.
hate the concept, honestly. It's just obviously the fact that you can swap to Magic Fan gear, that sucks. But honestly,
Yeah.
the only solution I see is just get rid of Magic Fan gear. Why is it even still in the game?
Yeah, I
Why is
would say
Magic
so.
Fan a thing?
I mean, for me, it's the biggest problem because it just feels really bad with how the loot is distributed. It's maybe not the problem if you don't like swap, etc. But I think it's just really feel
The
bad
whole-
moment, but you have to do it.
I agree with Manni.
touch-
Yeah, I think
Touch system is good even if Magic Fan didn't exist, because then if you run
Yeah.
maps of higher quant and rarity, or you're running mechanics like Expedition that extra rarity or something, and you have a really hard enemy that will drop more stuff out of it, it would basically only be scaled by actual difficulty, like
Yep.
map mods and so on.
Yeah.
Magic Find isn't difficulty, it's just annoying to swap your character, right? Like if you actually had to kill the entire monster with Magic Find gear, then it would be fine. Then it would be more difficulty and you get more rewards. Right? There would be a balance there. But you can just circumvent the entire extra difficulty that Magic Find gear is supposed to have by swapping characters or swapping gear when it's in culling range. Like that's just the only problem I see about it.
I do think that would be the decision, but that is a decision that I do not think they would make, which is just remove, like, you could keep whatever is in standard, existing in standard, who gives a shit, but just remove all rarity quantity gear from basically the game henceforth. Because that's removing that dimension, like you said, allows for so much easier balance. And it's the thing that they categorically have the hardest time with is balance, because there's so many moving parts. Whether it's because they're doing a good job or a bad job, it's irrelevant. There's so many moving parts that the less moving parts, the easier it is to balance. And removing the concept of rarity quantity on gear would just make it a totally one-dimensional thing to balance, which is just you could adjust all that shit on the back end and just have it so harder mob drops better stuff. Like it's no simpler than that. But I don't think they have the fucking balls to do it. I don't think they're gonna do it. I think that'd be the play though. I don't think they're gonna do it though.
There could be like a system that is honestly like Pantheon or something, right? Where you can activate certain things on your character. Like your character now has, I don't know, 20% minus 20 res or something, but you gain more quantity on everything.
Like Eldritch Altars, basically, just
like a built-in thing on your character where you can magic find by making your character weaker, but
Just a slider, just reduce the max stress to 1.
That's what Magic Find gear is supposed to achieve, right? Like you're giving up your glove slot
It's a
for
trade-off.
Sedimas,
Yeah, exactly.
and then you get more loot. But since there's the gear swap possibility, that isn't really a thing.
Yeah,
I mean, it's fine if we're talking about clearing a full map, because you can't gear swap for the entire map, because then you're actually clearing it. But if it's just a single monster, or a single boss, or a single Arc Nemesis monster, then you can just gear swap and call it, and the whole concept doesn't work anymore.
I have a pretty radical take on the rare things, and I would love to see it implemented. And in my mind, it is a flawless thought. But when feel free to dismantle it. I think that rare should have, like, rare mods shouldn't exist, basically. And the reason is because think about any other RPG, right? So the biggest thing is monster identity. So there's probably 5,000 different mob types in Path of Exile. You have monkeys, squids, whatever, right? All different things. And currently they've lost all identity because they're basically the threat levels associated with not so much what the mob does. It's a very small part of it. I'm obviously more scared of a Innocent Touch Katava Herald than I am a monkey. But all that has pretty much been stripped, and it's just been nothing but the threat is denoted by what is their arch nemesis modifiers. I wish that there was normal mobs, and then magic mobs had like 20 times stats, and rares had like 100 times stats, because every single unit in Path of Exile has inherently a large list of abilities. For example, you have things like the mobs from Cortex have upwards of 7 different abilities. Certain influence mobs have 7 to 8 different abilities, right? They have their own set of skills, and giving back their basically identity would give you a level of expectation when engaging with them. So if I experience a Redemption Sentry from a Redeemer map, I know it has Ice Shot. I know it has a Volley. Versus I see something and I have to stop and read it, feels extremely clunky. I don't think there's any reason to have any rare mods when we already have monsters that themselves have such distinct identities. I think returning that would be the most beneficial thing.
Yeah, they could have been a direction they went. I don't think it's actually more obvious though what monsters do. Like imagine how many monsters there are in this game. Or imagine if they add a new league mechanic or a new content to the game, and it has new types of rares. You would have no idea what they do.
You would
right?
take a week to learn them. Think of the association we currently have, right? What happened in art set? So you see a porcupine. What do you know it's going to do? You know it's going to explode with spikes. So clearly we're capable of learning what the mobs do to a degree. If you an Arch Nemesis League, if you saw an Arch Nemesis that was one of those large cage things, that is not what you would put at the end of an Arch Nemesis. Why? Because we knew they were dangerous. We see one of the bears in Harvest. We know they slam and it hurts because that monster has identity. I think that is like the key. And
I see what you mean.
It's much easier to identify what a monster is by what and what it does versus having to read something above its head. Ultimately, I think that's definitely the route.
A format Arc Nemesis, right? It doesn't even matter what type it is, right? It's just
that's the thing. It totally is irrelevant. And to the point, like Invasion League as a concept, right? This is way back. It was supposed to be introducing monster rarity to zones they weren't normally in. As in, if I was in a watery cave, I wouldn't normally experience a porcupine. But during that league, I could experience porcupines and that sort of stuff. So like that's been also tossed away pretty much. Like pretty much every map mod can just spawn, or every map can spawn pretty much whatever now. I think returning monsters to their identity would be such an easier way to do it. But who fucking knows?
That's a good concept. But I think GGG just wants more knobs to balance those monsters around. I just think that
I don't understand whether going for more complexity in the most overly complex system that already exists. Like there's so many layers currently that it is not that there's no court of appeals. It's not proven they can't balance, but it is proven that this is a task that is almost insurmountable to perfectly balance a game. So why they choose to give themselves, like they're constantly kneecapping themselves with more layers, which I'll never understand. I think that like the idea of removing league mechanics is a good start, like Prophecy going and rolling the Faded Uniques in. That's fantastic. But that has to pretty much happen at that same rate every league almost for us to like break even with what's being introduced. Like currently it's way more coming in than going out. Almost every league.
Yeah,
it's definitely a pickle. But I just think that's how they want to approach it. I'm just speculating, right? But I would say that your idea would work well Yeah, I would say it's a good idea. Thumbs up.
It's a direction they could have gone, but they went for a different one.
And they went the
Yeah.
totally opposite route, which is just get your reading glasses out. Get the fuck out. Now,
mean-
it's kind of crazy. You see an essence now, and there's like, you could have 10 lines of text, like, on an essence. It's insane.
True. That's a very edge case, though. Like, there isn't really much reading in a regular map. Like, when you hover over a rare, there's like 2, maybe 3, very rarely 4 lines.
Yeah.
That's not really reading. Like, you just see that. That's like reading is like when you open a strongbox, you don't actually read all the mods, right? You see the detonate thing that just pops into your eye because you know in which location it usually
Yeah,
is.
you're trained to look for it.
Yeah. So same thing for.
It's hard to suggest ideas because we're so ingrained in the game. I try to think of it from someone's perspective who, if I was seeing the game for the first time, what would I digest and understand the best? I don't know if what the current situation is, because I feel like they're not going to have like most players probably don't have the mechanical stability to have the time to read and to understand what an arch nemesis modifier does in a map, because they're going to be just trying to survive or like kill it. I feel like even now, like I'll feel an executioner mob before I read it, because I just see my life going down and not going up. I don't know what like the right answer is, but I feel like currently it's the wrong answer.
I would say Arch Nemesis might be easier for a new player than as a concept. Let's not talk about the balance and difficulty.
Yeah.
As a concept, then looking what that exact monster does, because like you need to know what monsters are and what they do. Obviously, for us that we have the knowledge already. We play the game for like thousands of hours, right? We know what things do, but I think it's easier for someone that just starts out and sees a random mob. Maybe it's bigger than a monkey or smaller than a cage, something like that. But it has the tags with Arch Nemesis. So I think that's good idea from GG's part. It just they implemented it the wrong way. So I think that's just the thing that happened this patch is just a lot of decent ideas that work well, but they were just implemented in a very, very
That's just the
bad
theme
way.
of this patch. It's just sloppy. I don't know. There's just things are not fully thought through or just badly implemented.
Do you have
I don't know,
any thought, or I mean, there's no end to the amount of memes and drama and people quitting and yada yada. We could go on forever about that. Even like Ziz announced a couple hours ago he's canceling the Gauntlet this league.
Damn.
So because it's just like
I don't think that's because of the league itself. It just makes sense to cancel it right now.
Yeah,
I think it's also because of the meta as well. So maybe I guess because of the patch, but
well, it's a coincidence if not that.
I mean, I wouldn't call it a coincidence, but it's not just because everyone thinks the game is unplayable and terrible, right?
No,
it just makes sense.
There's specific numbers that are like retention is at an all-time low currently.
Yeah.
There's like that's unfortunate. There's been I don't know what patch are we on. We're on a very high number of patches already.
19. Oh, do you mean within this one?
No, I mean like letter. We're
F I think. That's the last one.
Yeah, that's A B C D E F. So that's we're on the 6th patch coming up now. Which is a good or a bad thing. It means A, they're doing things, but B, they got things wrong. I guess it's the. But what were you gonna say?
I feel like this league has a lot of like the classic mistake that they do league over league. Like poor balance or like bad implementations of things or like an underpowered or boring league mechanic. Those things happen, right? But this league, everything happened at the same time.
Yeah.
All of these, like multiple of those failures have happened at the same time, and then coupled with unpopular decisions like nerfing Harvest and nerfing Loot in the same league as well. Yeah, it's the perfect storm.
So I guess while we're on the back half of the podcast here, I'm just going to read off a couple of these are like I'm looking at the top titles for Reddit. Now, a lot of these will prompt other discussions, so it's fine. I'm just going to go from top to bottom. Okay, and this is obviously going to be mostly meme and controversy but it's something is still worth talking about, I guess. Top one is, this is the top thing on Reddit, is Empyrean's group quitting because of the quantity change. the quantity change is something that, not that it's not felt in SSF, but not remotely felt to the level of high-end group play, to the point where when they were initially playing, I believe they were on average, I think Indeed told me they were making about 6C per map or something like that after investments, which is, you know, them sinking like a couple divines.
It was partially because like the stuff they invested, right? The wing scarps, they still had the prices balanced around last league's economy, last league's game, so they were overpriced as hell. But yeah,
and then and then after they announced they nerfed the league
I
loot.
still don't know what to think about the whole loot changes, because I don't really know what's true, you know. Like
that's a good.
If I didn't read Reddit or anything, I wouldn't even have noticed much difference. I do notice, obviously, that league mechanic monsters, like killing a harvest pack, drops way less rares and uniques as before.
Yeah.
Killing Beyond, specifically Beyond, is like a mechanic that doesn't drop anything anymore, I think, just currency. So yeah, but
Path is like a really anecdotal game, you know. You live in your own bubble, kind of. Even if you're Soul 7 or not, like if you're just like playing and just trading casually, it's still like your experience.
I wish we had like actual data.
Differ. Well, that's
then Chris comes out and say they did data, right? They did simulations and testing and said that we actually get more loot now, but then you have the group play results that are obviously at least 90% less.
And you have the alpha testers coming out saying that you know, we told you this was bad and you didn't listen to us at all. There's a whole lot of, I mean, it is a question like, you know, when so much of the player base disagrees with like what they're saying to a degree, like, but what are you gonna say?
I think it's just incompetence, to be honest. Unfortunately, it's just them being on a really rigid schedule, league after league, 3 months in, and like juggling a million things, and just things slipped again. That's the worst part for me. It just slipped again and again and again.
Yeah,
and it's just recurring thing every league, which is at some point is really unacceptable. I would say, even for a company that I think is really transparent and a good developer as GG.
Were you saying, Manny, about loot?
Yeah, I think I said it all.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's
just it's just hard to actually believe, or hard to know what's actually true. Like how much has, I wish they would have, like, you know, given us detailed a list of what monsters lost how much quantity, and then we could have like understood why we get less loot now and where we get less loot. Now we just kind of have to like test everything again and see what is actually good for loot now, what drops things and what don't, because they didn't really tell us much.
That's like the most unfortunate part. Is, if they told you that Gwen was going to be drastically nerfed, would you still have invested in Expedition? Like,
I probably would, because Expedition is broken anyways. But yeah, I mean, the one thing that really you know, that I really dislike is that they came out 2 or 3 days into the league saying that league-specific monsters lost like 90% of their quantity bonus. Like, you know, that's a pretty big change.
So
wish we would have known about
pretty much every other day now. There's enough people that have in trade that are now getting to the point where they're getting enough sample size on testing things that we're discovering new things day to day that were actually nerfed that they didn't mention. And that's kind of comes back to the transparency thing. Like, I don't know if it was incompetence or lack of managerial communication, like what the fuck happened, but there was just huge swaths of things that were not mentioned that 100% probably should have been mentioned. So one of them that was shown yesterday was people did a large chunk of testing on harvest rerolls, and those have been massively nerfed compared to before. So the re-rolling Breach
and Legion, right?
Breach 1 and Legion, those are both ones. Another one is the Uber lab, like the Harvest lab drops was totally changed as far as which one, the rates in which those drop. Previously, Gift was the most frequent, about roughly 70% drop rate. Now it's
Gift was the rarest one always.
No, Gift was the most frequent.
What?
No, it was Tribute. Tribute
the most frequent, and then Dedication, and Gift was the rarest.
Are you sure?
Always has been.
Yes.
Yeah. Because Gift is, I've seen my tab of like 10 Gift and like 50 tributes.
Well, that one shifted in some way also, to where I think Dedication is the most common now.
I mean, to be fair, they've always done things like that though. Like when things when odds of certain things
Yeah.
change, they don't really tell us because we're not supposed to know the odds of unique drops and so on. Drop rates have been hiddenly tweaked always.
Yeah.
Now, is something like a breach harvest swap, is that the same thing or not? That's questionable.
Yeah.
We should have at least said something has changed. Probably not how it has changed, but it would have been nice to.
Well, they could just include the line: the rates of harvest swapping has changed. I think
Exactly.
that would have been enough. Just something. I guess that's kind of where it's like it. The best way I would describe it for me is I think it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Really, is what it feels like. 'Cause it's just like not that my plans would not have changed drastically, but I would have liked, because especially Path is such a game where you do plan ahead, especially on League launch. That if there was some form of content was drastically nerfed, it definitely would have been very easy to say it. And then it would have been in the interest of the players to just be like, by the way, these mechanics have been adjusted, so do with that as you wish.
So you know that it's coming at least, right? You know you're taking a risk focusing on this.
Feeling blindsided just feels kind of bad.
That's true.
Yeah.
I just think they were really scared about talking about harvest changes in patch notes because they just didn't want to have outrage on the League launch. That I think that's what they thought.
Yeah, but did they expect us not to notice?
Exactly what my point
it's
is.
Like come back a week later.
That's the biggest meme is like you're trying to maybe not like put something past, but like sneak something past the most the most math focused group of players in any game setting in history is like a weird thing to do. It's going to be found out. People are going to run the numbers. They're going to data. It's without question going to be discovered. Why try to sneak
just said, we reworked harvest in some way. Go figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
Let it be a surprise. That would have been a much better patch note than what it did.
I don't think there's anything they could have
but there were.
I don't think there's any way they could have handled this that would have been really much worse than how it happened. To be honest,
I would agree. Yes, like even saying that. Look, yeah, even if them saying, look, we want to make harvest less powerful, and we're gonna change this, and we think that's good, and yeah, you can say whatever. Yeah. It would be better than not saying anything and then hiding changes.
Yeah. So someone got banned from Path recently, like IP banned basically. Path.
You got dev checked.
Path got dev checked. Path got dev checked. There's not a whole lot more to say about this than like, I don't think anyone gives a shit if you insult the game. You could say PoE is trash all day long, but it's their game, and if you insult the CEO and their staff, you're probably going to get dev checked. So hate the player, hate the game, not the player, or whatever the fuck I'm trying to say.
Nothing to talk about there.
Yeah, just don't be an idiot.
Move on that one.
Don't be an idiot. Okay. Next one is player following up on recent feedback. This is the one that was from yesterday, which has actually surpassed everything else, which is interesting. So this is the meme post that someone made. So they said that the recent post from GG was that we're aware that there's a lot of disappointment around the changes. We're reviewing them. We're monitoring the situation. Thank you. That was the recent post, basically. And then, someone made a joke post back, which was like, we're aware there's a lot of disappointment around the recent Steam reviews and MTX sales. Reviews were rebalanced, how fun the game is. Now that the game isn't fun, our reviews were reduced and more in line with the amount of fun obtained.
I'm actually really surprised how they didn't really back down. Like, they've done patches like this in the past, right?
Yeah, they've quintupled down on their decisions.
Oftentimes they back down and give us and buff things heavily. Like, think of Synthesis League, unpopular, and then they made it into a really popular league.
Yeah,
put a lot of effort into it. Kalandra seems almost abandoned already. Like, nothing has changed on it.
I'm not sure how much have you guys run many of the mirrored tablets?
Yeah, run decent amount.
So what are your thoughts on the general loot? So I mean, like, with not including the Untainted Paradise node and not including the actual Kalandra node where you could put your own rare in. What do you think of the general loot from the area versus like the risk reward time, etc.?
I would say it's undertuned quite a bit, especially if we are talking about PoE being balanced around Trade League.
Yeah.
For Trade League, I think the returns are kind of atrocious. I would say.
Yeah.
So not very good. For SSF, I think it's acceptable, but I'm not happy about it either because, like, if I play League Mechanic, I want it to be good. I want to be excited about going to League Mechanic. For this, It's fun and all, like doing those tablets, but
My
eh.
my biggest, so I think the amount I ran last week, I feel like it's pretty abysmal. And my biggest comparative league mechanic is incursion, because I'm taking time and maps to build something, then I run the thing. But for me, it's like in incursion, me setting up the temple, I'm getting loot, I'm getting experience, right? That whole process gets me something. And then when I run it, I'm getting experience, I'm getting loot unique to it. There's really nothing too unique to the mirrored tablets aside from the rares on average, which are going to be not good. Of the 50 tablets I ran last league, not a single generator rare was remotely usable. That, of course, could be my personal sample size, but on average, they're not very good because it's really easy to hit a stat that's like irredeemable. I just feel like it really does not merit the amount of time and difficulty spent. Like the loot out does not equal effort in remotely.
Yeah, I fully agree. It's also
Fully agree as well.
it's difficult content too, right?
Yeah, those
Going
top
for, like,
those.
15
I mean, if
difficulty
you put
feels
a
like doing a sim
if
30
you
or
put a
something, it's
beyond
hard.
on the like a difficulty 15 tile, I swear you're doing 95% reduced damage or something. Like it is insanity. Some of the tuning for those things, like Legion tuned in there, and Harbinger. The Harbinger one, there's like the ball lightning the Harbinger throws out, like the King Harbinger
Yeah,
in maps,
they
it
hurt so
tickles. But it's the mirrored lake. Some wire got crossed, and it's
Yeah,
like
I'd
it's
be
like
really
hitting like a
interested to
truck.
see,
Like
I'd be very interested to see the data mine numbers on damage reduction and increased damage those monsters have per difficulty. It's definitely very difficult.
what do you think the average Scourge level beyond monsters are? Because I feel like beyond right now is like Scourge 100. Like what would have been, during Scourge League. Like the
I really
difficulty
don't
of
know.
them. Because they're definitely not like normal. They're definitely not normal creatures. Something is
They are tankier
different.
than normal
Yeah,
creatures, for
something
sure.
is for sure. Something is up.
Since I'm running a build that relies on percentage explosions, as soon as I kill one, the entire pack dies
Yeah.
anyway. And no matter how much life they have, I didn't really notice it much.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
But
me, also it's a bit easier because I play a build that uses light game hit, so I just run through it and full health all the time as well. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think the lakes need to be. So I don't know what has to be done.
What do you guys think about the Beyond rework in general?
I mean, it's it's harder. They're harder to kill. They're rippier. They give less experience. The loot is less frequent, and it is nerfed. So, to me, it feels like a big old fuck you. And the fact that like I spawned the angel one in an 83 zone, the boss, and it hit like he was hitting less than the fucking white mob next to it. Like it's something is incorrect with how that was balanced. Totally, it feels.
yeah, I think it's absolute dog shit. Being honest.
And also the fact
think
that when
the
you kill
idea
the
was
boss,
good,
it just stops spawning stuff. So
Yeah.
like I try to kill in a map. I got a boss early on, and I was like, well, now I want to just run away from it until I finish the map, and then come. Like it just feels really backwards.
Yeah, I like the idea that they, remove these old bad-looking models. That's fine by me, and give it like a specific type of reward, right? Like most mechanics have some extra reward, right? Like
Yeah.
Catalyst for Metamorph, Blight Oils. Now Beyond has Tainted Currency. That's also a good idea,
Sure, yeah.
but everything else is so bad about it.
It could drop
It's like-
10 times the amount of tainted currency, and I wouldn't give a fuck.
Yeah, I mean the Tainted Currency
Like-
is bad. It doesn't drop any other loot. They're really weirdly tuned difficulty-wise, like very tanky. The fact that doesn't the boss can spawn in your first pack and then you lose all the other value. There's so many weird things about Beyond right now.
It's really strange.
It feels like it's an alpha test of the new Beyond mechanics.
So, how often do you feel when you see something implemented like that? Like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm on the wrong side of the fence on this one. And you see something like this, and
I'm
I'm just
very
like,
much
how
like
the
that.
fuck?
Like, I'm-
How the fuck can I be wrong on this? Like this seems like this is like totally out of. I have
I
utmost
always try to
confidence.
see I always try to see the idea. Why?
Oh, same.
I
Yeah.
always try to see the positive things.
Give them
right?
like the
And
benefit of the
I
doubt
do
or
see that,
something.
but
Yeah,
yeah.
this is like what even happened? I don't know. Harvest one. It's like it is definitely good
fixable
in
though,
very
right?
places.
It's fixable. It's not a
Oh
lost
yeah,
cause.
they just have to tweak the. I mean, they could return the tainted back to how they were as far as the rates, and maybe like double the drop rate, and we're probably in business.
And make them drop regular items as well.
Sure,
It's so
yeah.
bad that they don't actually drop normal items.
Honestly, the tainted chaos should drop the most because it's probably one of like the power scaling of tainted currency is kind of topsy turvy a little bit. Like the fusings were obviously very good last week for getting corrupted things into 6 links. Now it's like a 1 in 100 to go from a 4 to a 5, 6. That's like kind of weird. One of the ones I use the most and like the most is probably honestly the scraps and whetstones, because it has like an absolute value versus other things. Even though the impact is quite low, but like it's the one that's the most consistent. I feel like I'm using chromes and it's just totally not random, but like bad random. Like it's random with the weighting. I feel like,
I mean, the tainted chrome's whole idea is that they have no weighting.
yeah,
all colors are equally.
but they definitely have weighting now after they nerfed it.
Wait, really?
Yeah, well, because they nerfed all of the numbers for the things. The tainted, like the fusing one is 1 in 10 now from 50/50.
Yeah, I
think
know about that.
I don't think they nerfed jewelers and fusings, but I think they left chromes untouched because it's just random anyway. So why would that be changed? Just random anyway.
I used about 20 yesterday, and I was on a strength time, and it almost always hit strength things. Again, it's a very small sample size. This goes back to where it's like, one person's experience in path could be a totally different tale than someone else's. This is also where I would love to see the numbers if they had the numbers, because that's something that it probably would have been great to know. I also don't think that would hurt the game. Like, that's the biggest thing. Is you have a question like, would it hurt path if we knew what the rate of tainted currencies were, as far as like, this is a 1 in 10, this is a whatever. I really think the answer is no.
The community figures this out anyway. Like, that's always been hidden, and then we figured out by testing it. I think that's totally fine.
A little Kinder Egg, a little surprise.
I think that's alright, to be honest. That we don't know the actual rates. It's annoying sometimes.
I'm telling you, how nice is it though to, this might be another thing, but like knowing now that what the exact drop rates for most unique bosses are that are on the wiki, because they're like, we have the information, like knowing Eater Worlds is like a 2% chance to drop ashes. Like, I feel better knowing that, and I am not discouraged to run the content regardless. Personally, I don't think it would never stop me from running it, even though it's a 2% chance.
I think it's problematic if you put more things into equation. Like for bosses, it's fine knowing the rates, but like
the base rates for things.
Yeah, the base rates exactly. But if you know the rates for currency, for linking,
that's one thing. But like for unique bosses, I feel like having the drop rates known isn't really harmful.
I would agree with that. Yes.
Maybe linking too. Linking we could throw in there.
Maybe.
I think we already know the numbers on that one. I think they've said it.
Linking is going to be so easy from now on with the new 6-link recipe.
I haven't used.
I've never had more fusing.
I haven't used the fuse this league. I think I'm at like 3,000 or something like crazy. Like I'm saying I haven't even used one because I just had a 6-socket sync drop, but I've just been at a bit like a retro. I had to convert jewelers into fusings because I hit the cap, which was like normally doesn't happen at this point in league for me. All right, what else we have? What else is there in this world? There's mostly a lot of criticism about shit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think. Let's find a positive topic. I'm having a hard time though.
I don't think what we've been talking about, to be honest, is overtly negative. I think it's we've been looking at it, saying things mostly objectively.
I mean, yeah, it's not like we're negative. It's just a lot of the things just are disappointing.
Well, but that's just the cadence of the times. I mean, that's
just
that is what it is right now. This is. Let's say, any plans to go to Exile Con?
I wish I would love to go there, but it's gonna be too expensive for me, I think.
Yeah, same
here. The cards are sold out instantly anyway, right? It's not like we could go at this point.
I think the tickets pretty much sold within a week. I could have bought one. I honestly was gonna buy one, and then the launch happened, and I kind of felt like deterred a little bit. I was like, man, this is like kind of a bummer, I decided not to buy a ticket because of just like how unfortunate that first week of League was. Like that was the factor for me. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I was just like, I thought like this has been like a couple leagues in a row now where I've been like really not agreeing with most decisions they made as far as balance, etc., and implementing certain things. And I was like, all right, if there's still tickets by next league, and if next league's like an improvement upon how things are implemented. Mostly, I don't really care if there's a decision that I disagree with, ever. It'd be foolish to think that my vision of the game is going to be one-to-one with what the game is. I just don't like if things are implemented sloppily, and this has been like the most sloppily implemented thing.
Yeah, that is true.
So for me, that was like, why am I? It's just going to have a bad taste in my mouth if I go to this. But it's so far away. Also, it's like a fucking like year away.
Yeah.
but it's a moot point now because everything's sold out anyway. But
What
yeah,
you're saying there about sloppiness, that's exactly how I feel too. Like when I say I don't like this league, everyone's thinking I don't like the balance decisions.
I'm still having tons of fun, like without question.
I'm honestly
yeah.
totally fine. Yeah, I'm honestly fine with the balance. Like I don't take. I'm not like entitled to feel like they should balance the way I want to. They should balance the way they want to. I'm fine with that. I just really dislike the the sloppiness this league. You know, the just bad league mechanic. Not just like loot wise, but also it's lacking in other things.
Yeah,
You know,
my
variety and
my biggest
no quality patch. That's my issue.
Yeah.
Like I don't care about the actual like balance decisions and those kind of things. Like, you know, if they want to remove harvest or make it worse, that's a thing that they can do. I'm still gonna play the game probably.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I would second that opinion. So like I'm having a lot of fun. I like changing PoE, so it's just the quality of
forces you to shake it up no matter what.
I'd almost rather take changes that make us like a lot of nerfs than no changes at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There's definitely something inherently bad feeling when it's happened a lot more recently in the past like 9 months of Path, but like when I read patch notes and it's like 85% nerfs, I definitely feel bummed out, like for sure. So I'm just like, man, that's a lot of nerfs. I'm just like, I wish like they'd make whatever fucking something cleave better. Like I'd love to, because that's like another way you could shake things up. Instead of nerfing the good things, you could also buff the bad things. That's
I don't know. I think nerfing is okay. Like nerfs are a good tool to balance
stuff. It's a good tool. It's just not going to feel good to read though. That's still going to feel like a bummer.
There were some buffs this patch with the like 100 uniques, right? Some of them got me kind of excited. Definitely better than last patch.
That was good. If they do that every league for the next 3-4 leagues, we're in business, baby. That'd be great.
Yeah, just hope for the skill changes, man. Like that's the thing I really hope for. Just give us some different skills.
I don't think we need any new skills in the game. I think they could just drastically overhaul a huge chunk of skills. There's like 500 skills in the game. I think that's plenty. I think they could just add new support gems. I think is a big thing, because that totally changes the feel of a skill, right? Like how much does like a skill that's on cast on crit versus cast on channeling versus self cast versus a trap, like those, that totally changes the playstyle. I'd love to see more supports versus active skills.
Yeah, very true.
I mean, it's cool to see new things. That's exciting. But, like...
I mean, when they added Lightning Conduit, they could have literally just removed one of the unused lightning skills, like Lightning
Or just
Tendrils,
reworked it. You could just
Lightning
exactly.
Tendrils, you know?
Yeah. It would have...
Could have called it a rework. It would have been the same thing.
Same. There's... Path of Exile 2 news is not... There's not much. The only thing we know is the end of next league, they're announcing when beta is starting. That was the sentence, I believe. So at ExileCon, they're announcing when at ExileCon they're announcing when beta is starting.
Yeah. So in a year from now is ExileCon, right? Roughly.
And then they're gonna announce July, and then that's when they're announcing the beta, which could be an amount of time. I imagine 6 months after, but who knows?
I don't think so. I think that if they announce the beta, it's gonna be like really short period of time after ExileCon. Like
so that means we could have
or something like that.
Could have Path 2 in about a year, if everything goes smoothly.
I would say they are targeting like December next year, or if they are not ready, it's probably going to be like
by then. Diablo 4 would have been out by 6 months at that point. Are you guys planning on playing D4 at all?
Gotta check it out. I'm not.
I think I'm going to be playing it
clueless about it.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any vendetta against Diablo. I played a lot of Diablo 3 and enjoyed it throughoutly, so I'm definitely giving Blizzard one last benefit of the doubt, even though Blizzard is Blizzard.
That's kind of another thing, like, not that it's the same thing, but you could dislike a company but still like the product,
Yeah, exactly.
It's I obviously Blizzard's a piece of shit company, but I still enjoyed every Diablo. I even enjoyed Diablo Immortal when I played that. It's like really boiled down. I mean, it's nothing but watered down D3, but still was fun for a couple weeks. So there's like
exactly. I bought Diablo 2 Remastered as well, and it was a good remaster, and so I liked it, even though it was only a year-old game.
The thing. This is a good thing to kind of end on. What would you like, to see changed in Path maybe the most? And for me, like my biggest, not like a complaint of it, Pat. The thing that I want to see change the most is nothing major. To me, it's like there's like 50 little things that I would like to see change that would just make for me playing the game a lot more fun. Like little things like a button that like dumps your inventory into your stash and respects like the allocation system. Like that exists in so many games. Like Grim Dawn has that as another ARPG, for example. Just like to save my, I mean, I don't know why we don't have even like the basic currency vacuuming. It could be like, because it exists for Azerite. If I click a currency, I feel like the nearby currency should also just pick up. Like little things like that would be, nice to see. That's the type of stuff I look forward to the most, honestly.
Kind of give up on expecting any of those.
I mean, you could give up on. I'm holding that hope over here for minor quality of life things. They had quality of life things this patch. Most of them were for trade though, but for trade they're pretty impactful. Like the one where it's like when someone whispers you for a trade, it highlights the item. Like that's pretty cool for people who play trade, of which I do not play. But there's little things like that. I'd like to see that, and then generic balance changes. But are there any changes you're looking forward to potentially in the future, or any builds this league specifically you're like looking forward to making that you haven't gotten to make yet?
For me, for the changes, I'm pretty much gonna second your opinion. I would like quality of life more than big balance swings, because I think the game is still amazing.
Yeah.
Like the best game I ever played ever. So
I'm pretty happy with the base game for sure.
Yeah, exactly. It just, I really hate the changes that doesn't make sense. For example, like divine change, in my opinion at least, doesn't make sense. But
yeah,
that's a different topic. That's more of an opinion.
Who knows? Maybe next league we'll have 6 different divine div cards and divine shards, and that'll be fine. If they did that, that would be probably fine.
Yeah, I just hate changes that doesn't make complete sense, or like we know
sloppy.
don't know.
Sloppy
garbage.
Covered in slop.
Anyway, I blanked out.
Good. It's been a lot of that today, to be fair. It's a blanking kind of day. Any build you want to play or whatever?
All right, yeah, the build. I wanted to play Reaper, man, but I
tried last week. It was rough.
I was really looking forward to playing that, but they nerfed Gwen.
I got a level 33 Reaper also. I got the fucking +7 bow with all the gem stats and everything, and it was.
I mean, looking at the POB this league, I think you could make a really nice Reaper build with like the changes and with especially fixes to bugs with.
I feel like it's still wet noodles, man. It just feels not great.
You can make it really good, like 20 million dot damage easily. It just. Yeah, you need Mage Blood, you need dash hits, you need all the bells and whistles.
He's also really squishy. Like, fast Reaper dies was crazy. I was surprising level 33 Reaper. I was not expecting to be like almost one-shot every mechanic, but thing dies really quick, which I guess maybe might be better now if you have the new rings. Give it some res, give it some life, Yeah,
I think that would be okay, but yeah, Mage Blood, lol.
Mage Blood, lol. That must be twice. I mean, that's gotta be so rare from Gwen now.
Yeah.
We'll see when Manni pulls one out.
Yeah.
Everyone I heard about has failed to get one, no matter how many they've done. It's very scary. Yeah, I mean, for patches, what I'm still looking for is probably hard mode. Just because I've played this game way too much.
What do you mean we're playing hard mode right now, buddy?
Yeah, if they labeled this as hard mode, and I would have gone with the expectation of hard mode, I would actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like the idea of like an alternative game mode to PO is just still so nice to me. Like I'm not saying I'm gonna be a hard mode main and never play anything else, but just to be able to jump into like a different game mode for once, kind of like there's hardcore and softcore, right, and Trade League and SSF. Yep. I would like there to be
something new.
One more option to try out something new. Exactly.
One more thing to balance. Perfectly fine.
Really, the balance will be good.
One more thing I want to mention that is kind of a sad topic, I guess, is this league, Kalandra League, does actually introduce one unique that is unique to this league, and it is a ring called Kalandra's Touch.
Oh no!
And it is a ring that is seemingly unconscionably rare for what it does. It's very powerful, but its power is obviously predicated on your other ring. And some of the best examples are well, you could mirror anything except for unique. So what are the best unique rings, right? Precursors, insane synth herald rings, like things like that, right? Or you could just use it on another rare. That's also cool. But its spawn requirements, I've gotten confirmation from other people, and then EZTrickShots also asked a guy, and he said the same thing, kind of, which was our guess, which was when you... There's actually a video of this I saw somewhere. There's when you go to the Kalandra lake, and then she pops up in your lake, and you hit generate in an I-80 plus zone, so 80 or higher, there's just a chance that one of the two rings, if it hits rings, will be Kalandra's touch. But that chance seems to be disgustingly rare. So, because there's about the same amount of Kalandra's touches as Mage Bloods in League. But Mage Bloods have div cards and stuff like that, so it's, you know, I guess it makes sense. But yeah, it's gonna be like incredibly rare.
It doesn't really seem like it would be farmable, but yeah.
It basically, it seems you just do your lakes and...
I know at least one person that has it in SSF.
Yeah.
For what it's worth.
Oh, it exists. It exists. It's just you probably do 10,000 lakes and never see one on average.
Yeah, it's a unique collector's nightmare, that's for sure.
Yeah, which is a shame.
I mean, they're buffing the legs soon, right? Right?
They just said they're increasing the rate of which they're reflecting misspawn, which is in itself offensive that you could run an I-83 lake, have Kalandra show up, wave her little wing at you, then fuck off. That's a thing that happens. So that's going to happen less now.
She could spawn like 5 times per lake in a high level.
I've had her spawn a double thing one time where she turned all dark and stormy, yelled at me, and then spawned a double. That was cool, but like...
But she could be sitting on way more tiles.
Oh, yeah. I don't... It's... Again, I probably have made 50, 60 rares from her, and not a single one has been usable. Now, she can hit some crazy things, obviously, but there's like a lot of silver bullets and doubling up and down.
Speaking of Kalandra in the lake, she also offers new base types of rings, right? Like, for example, the ring that gives you increased effect of curses on yourself. So it's like the self-curse base, right?
Yep.
And if you manage to get 5 of those, you can actually make a normal rare base and craft on it with the 5-for-1 recipe.
Penumbra rings, yeah, and the other one.
It's just
called.
Gonna be insanely grindy. You would probably have to run a couple of quad taps of lakes to get 5 of those.
I have not even seen one of the new rings yet.
I've seen 2.
Yeah.
But only, I guess, different ones, right? I only have one of each.
And then, have you guys got any of the Grand Spectrums? They're from Lab, if you didn't know.
I've not done more than 1 lab so far.
Yeah.
No, not yet. I've done like 30 labs.
They're quite common from what I've seen. It's like if you were doing silver chest, it's like a 1 in 3 Uber labs you're gonna get one. So that's
they basically replaced, like they removed like 6 lab jewels this league, right? So they removed them from the game, and now we see why, because they moved the Grand Spectrums there instead.
I think the minimum ones are pretty cool. I like those, the minimum ones. If you like run all 3, it's like not terrible. I guess it's like 6 points for 3 of each charge permanently. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, they're really strong. I'm definitely going to be farming them later on in the league for another build I'm planning, but I think it's a good change.
And you got a chance to mess around with the gloves, right, Legi? The Soul Ascensions a little bit.
Oh yeah, right. I completely forgot
that
I got
that's
really
off
lucky
of
with
Uber. It's Uber at Uber Elder, but the pinnacle version. It's like
Uber Elder.
And these are the gloves that Ziz made from the last race, I think.
Yeah, last league's race. There was supposed to be a new unique for each Uber boss, but only Sis gloves made it into the game.
Yeah.
I think like 5 of them are going to be made by Ben, and he didn't have enough time to make them or something.
Yeah, which I think is why they stopped doing that thing, because they don't like. I don't think they said like they didn't want to wait on people to submit their ideas and whatnot. But the gloves are cool. They're Soul Eater gloves for bossing.
Yeah, exactly. So you get a lot of attack speed and a lot of cast speed for like boss farming. So they are really interesting, unique, because they make you really benefit from playing well, right? So if you die randomly in a boss fight, then you lose all the Soul stacks.
Yeah,
so
you're punished.
You want to play very well with them, but if you do, you get a huge benefit. So they're really fun.
How much attack speed is 1 stack? Do you know?
I think it was 4% per stack, or is it 2%?
Oh wow, that's a lot better than I thought it was.
It's not 1. It's more than. Yeah.
It's either 2 or 4, but it's still a lot of attack speed. So I did play like do Uber movements with them, and they feel really good when you stack up to 50. For example, for the Uber Elder fight, the Pinnacle version itself, like you sit on 50 stacks if you don't die. That was so strong.
Yeah,
for
on that fight you can always hit unique, so there's the
Yeah, the
portals
portals
as
Yeah,
well.
count.
exactly.
Yeah. I guess we'll end on an appropriate unique to talk about very briefly, which is Calm Spirit, because they're IronVsWild's gloves.
Shout out to Iron.
Yeah, shout out to Iron for not being
I
here.
got them today.
I
so
think Iron's
I'm happy.
recovering from advanced depression after the Recombinator removal, and now he's in lack of Recombinator League. It's sad those are gone, but we have Calm Spirits are pretty cool. You got those today, right, Legi?
Yeah, that's correct.
And
I'm lucky.
I got them a couple days ago off of the unique strongbox. They can drop off of that, which makes sense because it's a Calm's item. I've really only seen them used mostly on agnostic builds. I think the one I saw them used the most on. What would you? What is? Well, because it gets through everything. I mean, you don't need the regen because you have the recoup or whatever. So it's kind of cool. It's free
I was
rage.
thinking about using them on a heist runner, because the build that is built for move speed, and then instead of regen, I would just click my life flasks.
So Slayers are ring
with,
them.
replenishing remedies.
Slayers are ring them, I guess, for.
Yes, people want it for Slayer. I think
Yeah.
Khan, the resident Slayer player,
Slayer
is
player.
looking for them in hardcore SSF right now, but he can't find them.
And if you get them, you just have to drop Valpact, right? I believe is the thing.
Yeah, I think so.
So you can't
I
run.
believe so.
You can't run Valpact if you use them.
I believe you can't. On the other hand, Inquisitor keeps his ES region, from what I've been told.
Yes.
So that's a cool interaction as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at some cool people. There's definitely is really cool gloves though.
I think that the nerfing to crafting kind of makes them harder to use, because last league we would have just crafted a very nice regen and recovery gear, and I would see a lot of people using them. So at some point they're gonna be definitely a very, very powerful item.
I'm debating if I should use them on my if I'm leveling Bone Shatter Slayer. Should I use them on that? Or
If you have the gear later on, yeah, definitely. They're really good.
What's the downside? I guess I'm just dying constantly. Is the downside? Survival. Someone's using. I see a guy using Carnage Heart while wearing them. That's a route.
I mean, there's a couple region nodes on the tree, right? On the duelist and
Well, all you need is you just need 100 life regen, and then you can just sit in the beginning of the map for 50 seconds like a cool guy. get capped rage. That's a route.
Yeah. Not wrong.
I am not wrong. No, we'll end on that. Is there anything you guys want to add before we wrap this time? Yeah. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
I would say game is playable. Don't spread misinformation and hope for the better future.
Yep, definitely playable, fun to be had, and the flip side of the coin, that introducing a negativity, which is just if you're not having fun, just don't play and then wait for next week, and it'll hopefully be better for you. If you're having fun now, no shame, have fun. I'm having fun. We're all having fun here, I think. But if you're not having fun,
human beings.
we're all disgusting.
Having fun.
Yeah, we're gross.
Yep. One more thing. Would you guys be interested in playing Gucci Hobo later this league? Because I'm thinking about making a private league for it.
Sure.
So for explanation, you can only use unique items, and since there's a lot of very strong leveling items now, especially.
Yep.
And a lot of other buff uniques, I think it could be interesting to try and make it work.
100% down for it. If you want, we could make it a bit. It's a bit of a more than you asked for type thing. But now you've got me on the hook. You want to make it a bigger thing? We could, if we introduce even a mild charity component, Chris will pay for the whole thing basically, and we could do it, like that. If you want to.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to.
I could. I'll message Nicholas, the guy who's in charge.
It doesn't need to be my thing. It doesn't need to be my thing at all.
We could do. How about a Team +1 Gucci Hobo event? Easy.
That would be great.
Very much down.
All right.
That'd be fun.
And we're gonna do charity for AIDS, pro AIDS, spreading AIDS. That's what? That's a charity event, right? No.
We'll see about that.
Okay.
You're the expert on charity.
I'm the AIDS expert. Okay. Fantastic. I'll end on that. Okay, that's it. We're done.
Goodbye.
That's it.
All right.
Bye-bye.